yo.
Okay, everyone. Let me see if everyone can at least hear me. Just type in the chat, or I'm coming through. Okay. I like to hope that everything's going fine, but either way, let me go have Jeff's audio in. So, okay, muted. Okay, all right. I am not muted. Okay, thank you. So, well, thank you for everyone for showing up. Thank you, Jeff, for showing up.
For sure.
You try my best not to fanboy a little bit, but you were probably one of the very first couple people I've seen, like aside from Cody, that did 3D printed stuff. So, for everyone that doesn't really know who you are, how would you explain yourself or what you've done?
Yeah, so I got started printing like I think 3 months. The first like commits to the GitHub repo, or like 3 months after Cody's video came out. So like pretty shortly after that. But I started out originally trying to take the slam fire shotgun, or like the improvised munitions, army manual 3/4 inch pipe shotgun, and turning that into something that was better, because the default ones kind of suck. You get one shot and then reloading's kind of a pain, and so I wanted to add a trigger. I wanted to add sights. I wanted to add an extractor, things like that. And originally I planned to do this out of hardware store parts, and then the Liberator pistol video was released, and I was like, I could start printing some of this stuff, and that might make things a lot easier. And then I got started 3D printing, and my very first 3D prints were 100% solid, which was not awesome in the beginning, but now, God, that was 2014. I want to say October 2014. So now here we are, like 7 years later, and the 12K is in. Right now, the top brick is what I'm releasing. So it's turned that like slam fire shotgun into a top brick shotgun that has like an extractor. Has M-lock support on it. You can put a rail on it. You can what else? It has a trigger, so you don't like have a slam action thing. That seems so weird to me.
I mean, well, yeah,
So yeah, it's a better shotgun.
yeah, like when I think about it, like the obvious first buyback gun, like you'll always see it in every single buyback, is the simple slamfire pipe shotgun. I'm pretty sure everyone knows exactly the thing I'm talking about. I won't tell you guys how to do it, of course, because this is YouTube, but it's a very, very simple design. And like even yeah, I was like starting to think too, like, I mean, surely you could probably make this a lot simpler with what we can do with printed stuff. And then you basically made what is what I thought would have been easier, the revolver, like the original Liberator 12K.
Yeah,
Sorry to hear. I guess we could talk about that one a little more, but
sure.
the break action one I think is I I'm very glad that's finally like that someone's actually making that, because that would at least really step up the game for, like, I guess the pipe shotgun.
Yeah, and it's easier, right? Like you don't have to ECM anything. You can literally just go down to the hardware store, and you don't even need a hacksaw. Like you can use a pipe cutter, or you can get them to cut it to length for you. They'll cut it to length for you and won't even ask any questions.
Yeah, I noticed. I also
Yeah,
noticed.
I want it 18.5 inches long. Really, that's an odd length. Huh, okay, but like, and they'll thread it for you, right? It comes factory threaded.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
we have to find a. Are there brakes that are like chokes that can fit on top of a pipe, like the pipe threading?
No, not yet. And I don't know like how well that'll actually work in practice and all that. But like, it's one of those things that it comes threaded, so I could potentially, pull some of this stuff off. At least the pipe version.
Yeah, I mean, in my honest opinion, my honest experience, I've never really shot a pipe gun. I have one sitting like in a corner, but I haven't actually used it yet. So,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I took mine down to Florida, Maker's Match, and shot like a dozen rounds of mixed like double aught buck and slugs,
right.
and kind of as fast as I could, and all I did was get warm.
Yeah, let me at least show everyone kind of the guns we're talking about. By the way, this is Jeff's actual site. Now I can't link it here, but if you, I do have his Twitter on the description, and I think yeah, it should be there. And it's your top. I think it's your link. It's the pinned link in your account bio, right?
Yeah, it's my website on my Twitter profile.
Right. So yeah, this is basically what we're talking about. Um, this is the original Liberator. It is a or the Liberator 12K. It is a revolver style
Oh,
shotgun.
yeah. So the revolver actually, I wouldn't call it the original. So it's the one that most people know about and it's like the most famous, I guess. But it wasn't the original. The break action was the original, and then I was like, what it was is Sire 612. That thing came out like years ago at Shot Show, and as far as I know, it's vaporware. They never actually went anywhere with it. But and like I understand why. Like there's good reasons why. Um, and yeah, so I was like, I could probably do that. And I was just learning to CAD, and I was using OpenSCAD. I'm like, this is probably pretty easy to throw together. Like, how hard would it be to make a revolver cylinder in CAD? And like, if you know anything about CAD, it's really, really easy. And then the zigzag wasn't too crazy on top of that. And then, like, okay, I actually have something here. And then I've spent a couple of years, poking at the thing to try and get it safe and usable and range friendly and all that stuff. And it's at a point now where like it's it's pretty well along. Like I've got to the point where I have to like get to weld things now, right? That's just what it takes. I tried really hard to avoid having to weld anything like epoxy work or whatever. And no, you just need to bite the bullet and get the TIG welder out.
Yeah. So let me just. Or I have it right now. So I think that one, or the one that you're talking about, the break action. That's the one that you're calling. Is it the cafe? Is it the cafe? Right.
Yeah, the Cafe 12.
Uh,
So yeah, there's that. I call it the Cafe series. Like it's a break action. The break action in general is kind of just a general class of guns. If you go to arms and ammunition there on the top, yeah, that's at the Cafe right there. If you go to arms and ammunition at the top of the page, there'll be a Cafe page.
right. And then here's the Minuteman, which is
Yeah, so the Minuteman is the receiver, and that's kind of the universal receiver. Like that's equivalent to like an AR lower. And then that thing is swappable between those different forends that you see there.
right.
And the orange one's a little bit different. It's Barbie. That's a special creature.
And this is your flare launcher, and then here is your wonderful. Oh, silly me! I forgot to mention these are, of course, all prop guns. Thank you. Um, and this is
Yeah, yeah. Movie props.
these are all good old movie props. All right, just point it at your
Hmm.
cinematographer, and it should be a good backstop. So,
Yeah.
yeah, this is the cafe, or the cafe is the break action one, and this is the zigzag revolver, and this is the flare launcher.
Hmm.
Now,
Yep.
I have a, or the cafe one seems pretty simple, and I feel like that'd be the closest one most people could probably do on their own.
That's the idea. And like, so if you click in there, there's kind of a couple different ideas to it. So one is like, yeah, you can source and do all this yourself. You absolutely can. You can buy a kit from me too, and that has like better hardware in there. So it's got 4130 tubing instead of pipe, right? But like, you can make a pipe version. It's just a pipe shotgun. Um, you can yeah, the idea is that the basic cafe one with a Schedule 40 pipe barrel is the one that like anyone can make.
Now, now I have to stop you right here. We have a $10 super chat, by the way. Thank you
I
very
see that.
much. Now, Jeff, what is your thought on weeps?
I'm gonna say they sound like enthusiasts, but you can go a little overboard for most people.
Okay, well, that's more generous than I thought. Yeah. um, I'm very glad to hear that. Okay, because
Yeah,
I was telling you a little beforehand. I'm always shocked to see the people that still follow me. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. He doesn't have me muted yet. He liked this thing. Okay, that's good to see.
it's okay to let people like things. I get some bizarre stuff in my Twitter feed.
Oh,
Like
God, no. Yeah.
the gun community now is like I don't know. There's
Furries,
some
femboys, weebs.
yeah, yeah. There's some, people always assume that it's a bunch of cons. I'm trolling the cons. Like, dude, I don't think you appreciate how diverse the beehive you're kicking is.
It's
Like,
very, I'll just say, it's always bizarre to see the mention. Like, I'll even have people on, like, different sides of the gun community fighting my own like comments. It's really interesting. I just got to say that. But
Yeah.
I'm
Um,
glad to know you like or at least weebs are okay. But
yeah, they're all right, man. That's harmless, right? Unless they're
right.
harmful, that's a different case.
So I guess someone was mentioning, or manual reader or EXE is also asking, is there an updated revolver Liberator 12K that doesn't need the use of a welder?
No.
Let's go talk about that one because
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, everyone wants to know about the revolver, right?
well,
We
the
can jump into that.
revolver. I think what was it? A couple of people were talking about the Pancor jackhammer and stuff like that. The one that you went to like Shot Show looked very much kind of like that, or at least
Oh
somewhat
yeah.
inspired.
It still looks a lot like that. I mean, so the I don't know, I'll just like say the zigzag principle, right? Like that has been around in guns for a long time, and like today I look at that, that's just a stretched out screw. Like it's or an inclined plane on a cylinder wrapped around a cylinder. Like these are simple machines. Um, so there's a reason it's in the jackhammer. There's a reason it's in like the Webley Fosbury, and there's even not the Gaunt, a Mosin
Oh,
from
the
like
Mosin pistol.
1800 or something.
It's like the revolver
Yeah,
Mosin.
pistols, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think I've seen that one. It's like that's the one that like seals like the gas for a revolver. It's a weird
Yeah, but
revolver.
then I think I mixed up a couple revolvers. The Nagant I don't think is zigzag. It might be, but there's another Mosin that's like from 1800, like a 1809 or something like that. That actually uses a zigzag. So the zigzags have been around for a while, and like they're really a super simple operating mechanism, and they're great for if you want a revolver. Like they're awesome, man. Like I took that one to SHOT Show, and I've had just people just beating up on it for the longest time. And so far, the only thing that has broken on it is the pump. Like the pump, I tore out the bolt on the pump because it has like half an inch of ABS to hold on, and like that was the only thing that broke so far.
Yeah, I'm trying to show people at least what it looks like, just because I think it is a very cool looking gun. And
Yeah,
I mean, this is almost as good as like a real one. Like, I mean, how many studios are coming for you? But
yeah. I did actually have a Hollywood prop shop come up to me at SHOT Show.
I can.
So we'll see if it ever ends up in a movie. If you ever see anything that looks like a Liberator 12K, there's a good chance that they like just yoinked the files because it's public domain, so they can. I'm like, yeah, go for it, guys. Like,
I mean,
just shoot me a message if you do.
I mean, that's one of the biggest. Actually, unironically, that is probably one of the biggest things for 3D printers. If you want to do cosplay props and stuff like that, you can really make things look very real.
The revolver, you could load it up with primers, and it would look and sound like quite real.
Well, yeah. I mean, let me ask. Actually, this is a very good question for me. If I were to hand you a gun right now, what would be the first thing you do?
Oh, you gotta check and make sure it's loaded or not.
Okay, well,
I mean,
I wouldn't.
me.
Yeah, silly. But
or unless we talk like if we're on a movie set, I've definitely pointed at the camera.
Right, exactly, because cinematographers aren't people. But this is what we're talking. Or this is a very nice looking revolver. Okay, man, my computer's just going a little slow, but it's struggling a little bit. But I hope everyone at least got to see see what the Liberator 12K looks like. Just because.
Yeah, if not, you can get it from the website, which you can find from my Twitter. Right, just go to Arms and Ammo. The ZZR is listed there as one of them.
But so this is basically the revolver we're going to be talking about for a little bit. So you were telling me earlier how what your goal was for this originally, about how you wanted it to be mostly printed and everything. How is it looking now?
So yeah, I'm at the point now where the gun is stronger than the ammo, right? So I was shooting double-aught buck, and it'll come up in this video. I'm shooting double-aught buck, and I have plastic shot cards in this ammo, and the gap blast coming out of the buckshot round curves around the corner and comes in and blows out the plastic shot cards in the neighboring shells, and you're sitting there like pumping. If you're sitting there shooting along, and then all the buckshot falls out of your next round, like that's kind of where we're at. So it might work in slugs. That might be okay, but for buckshot so far, at least with plastic shot cards and all that, like you have to pick your ammo. And there's other things to sort out about that. Gap blast is no joke.
I whenever you explain, or when you're explaining to me how the revolver works, it just makes me sad to think because it's just such. You would think revolvers would be so much easier.
It is and it isn't, right? Like, there's things I can do about it. The big thing that I have been concerned about is that if you take this to a range, you can't throw crap out the sides and hit your range neighbors like that. That will that's not okay, right? You're gonna get kicked off the range at best and potentially sued or whatever. Like, so you can take it out to the woods or whatever, and that's one thing. But you want a range safe gun so you can actually go and practice with the thing.
Yeah, no, that would be the ideal. Ideally, that's why I have. That's actually that's why I haven't shot my pipe one yet, just because
Yeah.
I know if I take that to a range, I'm not they're not gonna let me do that. But
Yeah, I'll say I took mine to the range. The at least in the 12K. So yeah, let's talk about 12 gauge pipe shotguns and material properties real quick.
yeah, I think
The numbers do not look good for the pipe material in a 3/4 inch pipe shotgun. Like, even if you have the 1 inch pipe sleeved over it, like, that pipe is so garbage. You can cut it with a pipe cutter. If you try and do that to 4130 tubing, you will break your pipe cutter. It's very, very soft steel. That said, I haven't seen one blow up. I've seen Royal Nunsuch abuse the hell out of pipe. He literally clogged his shotgun up with dirt and like a giant eye bolt, like a 3/4 inch eye bolt, and he ended up throwing the receiver out of the vise before he blew up the barrel. He bulged the barrel a whole bunch of times, but it did not blow up. It never bananaed.
it.
So, like, and we also did some really ill-advised testing with an improvised DIY choke, and nothing came out of the barrel. I don't think in that shot. The barrel didn't blow up. So, while it's technically, like, if you look at the numbers, that shouldn't be safe and whatever, but in reality, it seems to mostly be okay.
I mean,
You to your own level of risk tolerance, but, like, I've seen that pipe abused and have not seen one fail.
I mean, really, I feel like most people at this point, the pipe gun has been a tried and true thing in theory.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell anyone what to do again, but it is. I think most people know it's probably going to be fine. I think most people don't realize though what happened. Tell me this for when you do or when you make a pipe gun, like for this, how is 12 gauge primer if you were to over penetrate or like break the primer?
That's not a problem at all. So, like, actually, I have that problem a lot. So that's one of the things that the 12K is special about, or like one of the things that I've been working on for a long time is, so if you have a barrel to contain the pressure, right, and that thing's solid, and you put something else steel and solid at the back of it, like, you're in good shape. Like, you're behind a big steel plate that's not going to fail on you. So, like, these days, one of the kit items is going to be a 1/4 inch thick 4130 plate. You can make it yourself out of mild whatever. And like, if you're behind that thing, like, the round is not going to punch through that and come at you and get you. I've punched out, God, probably half the primers that I've fired, because I use a nail, right? And they don't have to be filed to proper length or whatever. It's fine if it's too long, nothing happens. But you do punch out primers, and it's fine.
Well, I'm not sure if you heard last time, or at least with the last stream with Spooky and him and his Belladonna thing. I remember. I wonder how that's going to work for him too, just because it's when you need we were trying to think about what's going to happen to the back if it's fully 3D printed.
So, I mean, the way that I kind of thought about it is that, like, I figured it's kind of like a punch press. That was like how I initially ballparked, like, how thick does this thing need to be? 3/16 would have been fine too, but I thought about it like a punch press, and basically it's what's going to happen, right? There's 13,000 psi on, like, it's like 0.81 inches across, right? So there's, like, 12,000 pounds sitting on a little round circle. Plastic is only good tensile wise to 4. Compression is always a lot better, but whatever.
Well,
anyway,
it's yeah,
it
it's a
it
very minor thing. I would say. I mean, one thing I do want. I feel like we should probably mention though is so you tried at some point. I think a fully printed revolver cylinder, right? Or
not
well,
printed
fully
not
yeah.
printed chambers. I never did printed chambers. I did print the shell of the thing. So I've always my thing has always been use metal like where it's important, which I think is the barrel and the recoil plate right behind the barrel, or the bolt if that's your case.
Well, or something about how you need to at least weld in every or to keep the barrels in place fully.
So I tried to do it without welding. So I originally tried to do a no weld barrel, right? Because like, who's got a TIG welder? I didn't have a TIG welder for the longest time, like years into the 12K
I,
project before I
I
had
don't
that.
even know what a TIG welder is.
Yeah, so exactly, right? Like it's the not cheap kind.
Yeah.
uh,
Okay. So yeah,
the MIG welder is the cheap one that everyone's probably screwed around with, and like you can do body work on a car with and stuff like that. But
that's like the
like,
basic like spot welder type of a thing, like arc welder.
yeah, kinda, yeah. Like if you go down to Home Depot and you come home with a welder with a spool of metal, that's a MIG welder,
Okay. Yeah.
and like, most people, if you're gonna run into one, there's a good chance to run into a MIG. The TIG is like more of a airbrush for metal. Like it's much more fine. Like the work you can do is really precise and all that jazz.
Uh,
And like one of them is just like glomming on metal with a hot glue, like an airbrush and like a really fine tool.
So for I guess for the common man, basically, one is one that you're not going to be able to pretty much do on your own, and the other one is going
It,
to require. This is going to probably require an actual. If you know what you're like, you need to know what you're doing to actually weld this.
yeah, yeah. You need to have it. Yes. Like I won't say that I know TIG very well. Yeah, exactly. I don't know TIG very well. I know it well enough to stick a couple pieces of metal together,
Well,
and
luckily,
that's all it needs, right? Like it doesn't need a lot, but it does need metal stick to metal.
luckily for us, Mr. Snow has given me $5. Thank you, Mr. Snow. By the way, um, I guess I need to do a TIG video. It would be greatly appreciated because I don't know anything about TIG welding myself. And
It's awesome. It's the coolest thing. I'm not good at it yet, but I'm getting better,
so
and it's the best thing to use to actually stick this fine small details together.
okay, so in other words, then this is kind of I guess going to go to the point of or at least things that I find really important about this is you kind of are very much like valuing the fully like DIY type of guns, something that really
Yeah,
anyone can do.
yeah, and like that. There's certain things you can't do unless you have the equipment, right? But if you do, and lots of people do, then you can.
Right, and I guess then the nice thing too is you're still or compared to like a normal slam fire pipe shotgun, this is significantly better, and like I
Oh, like the top break is way better than a regular like a slam fire.
it
Like one of the first things you run into with slam fire is like, all right, cool, now extract it and shoot a second shot, guy.
yeah. No,
Uh,
I think I saw what was it? Plastic Gatz's video of him shooting one of them, and like he's saying about how much of a pain it is to extract it himself. Like afterwards, it's I don't. Yeah, it doesn't
yeah,
seem like a pleasant experience.
no, the extractor matters a lot, and that's one of the things that like I'm pretty happy with in the Cafe 12 is that it has an extractor. That's important. It's, in the pipe shotgun, it really matters because it's gnarly to try and get out anyway. Like it's basically a 12. Okay, so you're shooting a 12 gauge round out of a pipe that's basically 10 gauge. It just happens to not fall through, and like it fire forms to that bigger pipe, and there's also that seam. So I'd say if you're making one of these, like grind down the seam, get that seam nice and smooth, and that'll
Oh
make your life
yeah, yeah.
way easier.
Let me just explain it to someone that's never really. That's the big meme to everyone's like, oh yeah, just make a pipe shotgun. It's super easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't. No one ever tells you, oh, there's a giant seam inside the pipe. You can't just
hmm
shove or both the pipes in each other and it just slide in freely. It's not that easy. There's a seam that you have to grind down, or else the pipe is just not going to fit, or it's going to get really hard or really stuck.
Yeah.
I want people to
On
know
that
that
point,
because it's hard.
use. So you're going to use a 3/4 inch pipe, right, for the 12 gauge, and then sleeve it over with 1 inch. You can get pipe nipples, and they don't have nearly as much seam in them. They're a lot better, but still, like The regular 3/4 inch pipe is going to have a gnarly seam in there that you want to file out.
So that's yeah. I know that all too well. Just because I
It's a
thought it
lot of
would.
work.
Yeah, I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be a lot easier. But yeah, the seam's a pain. But
I want
hey,
to I want to get around to ECMing that thing out of there. I think I can pull that off.
that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
But
I think it's very doable. On that note, Nomo Negro asked ECMing instead of welding. Cutting the revolver cylinder out of solid bar. So yes, I've thought about doing that. Just that solid bar is stupid expensive. So if you're going to ECM it, like you're already into the kind of money that like you might as well hire the guy with the CNC machining to do it. Like yeah, I could probably ECM it, but man, that's getting like bar stock that's 3.5 inches around is no joke. That's very, very serious hardware.
well, yeah, one thing. I I mean, right now, let me first answer this because someone's asking this. If you are if this is the guy that made the single shot pistol and the media went crazy about, no Simp Supreme, you're thinking of Cody Wilson. This is a different guy altogether, but Cody Wilson is the Liberator guy.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, 12K is kind of different. Like I don't know, we're both using the Liberator name, I
mean,
suppose, but
well, the original Liberator
the
name,
namesake is older.
yeah, the
Than
original
either of us.
yeah, the original Liberator name, if I remember correctly, was like that was just it was like the single shot pistol was airdropped in
The
France.
45.
Yeah, the
Yep.
45. And then didn't the CIA or whatever government bureau try to make like a shotgun one too as well at some point?
I don't know if they did try to make a shotgun one. It would have worked really well.
I,
There is a shotgun. There's a couple Liberator shotguns. I want to say there's the Winchester Liberator for 4 Winds, which has like 4 barrels. That thing's honking. There's also I want to say like a single shot Liberator shotgun from somebody. I don't remember who.
but I mean, I think the Liberator's like namesake is basically kind of it's
Oh yeah, the little pistol, the CIA's little pistol.
well, it's like I guess the whole idea. I mean, the pistol too. Like the whole idea was it's meant for someone that can't like it's kind of like a weapon for like if you're in a pinch sort of like the original Liberator, even the metal one was like only good for like 3 or 4 shots. I think it even had like a little cartoon on it that said go sneak up behind the German soldier, shoot him in the back of the head, then pick up his gun and then use that.
Yeah, yes, exactly, right. And yeah, that's kind of the idea. And then like the 12, so the Liberator is actually good. Like, it's only a single shot break action shotgun, but you should be able to, acquire a whole bunch of Nazi soldier arms with that thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I will say this: if like I had to choose between the break action Liberator or the Cafe, or just a simple like pipe shotgun I could possibly make in a movie situation, like I would probably want the one that can break like the break action, especially with the extractor. I can only imagine how much of a pain that would be. It's the Cafe 12 seems to be a very like noticeable improvement to the original, I guess, just pipe shotgun. Which we do know works well. There's the whole like Philippine slam fire thing where the guy that made a bunch of armed a bunch of
and Chairman Wan's right. The best reloading method I've seen was from Royal Nuthatch, as far as I know. You just flip the barrel around, and that is the best reloading method I know of. But it's also sketched me out. Like, yeah, it's fast, but it also sketches me out that you're intentionally creating a bore obstruction. It's probably fine, but also like, yeah, it's sketchy.
I see someone was or someone's asking if the files are made available yet.
So they're alpha right now. They're alpha 3. I call them alpha. Really, range have a welder. So there's different things. So there's different pieces to the 12K project, right? So there's the just the general like receiver, the universal receiver thing.
Let me pull that back
the
up.
Minuteman. Yeah, there's the Minuteman receiver, which is supposed to be reusable for other projects. Like I've used it in a few projects. The idea is that like, hey, if you want to take this thing and build off of it, and build your own guns around it. Like it has a trigger built into it, it has a hammer built into it, you have a fixed recoil plate. Like you can't do everything with that, but there's a lot you can do. And then it's also got, big modular rails and shapes and whatnot that you can just swap out wholesale.
And something about that trigger too. So another important thing is none of this is regulated parts. I mean, the common thing for all printed guns, I mean, if you haven't figured it out yet, is an AR-15 fire control group. This is not
Yeah,
an
no
AR-15 fire.
AR-15 fire. Nope.
So,
Not even the Barbie down here. That orange gun that does use an AR-15 barrel and bolt assembly. Because I mean, if you have those two, you have a gun. But that like I call that like an exhibition gun, right? Because that's not what I'm focused on. Like my focus is on guns that there are no gun parts. They like these are just rods and screws and bolts and stuff you can get from the hardware store. There's never going to be like we left a loophole out of airsoft guns. Like we're going to close that up. Like no, we left a loophole out of you can go down to the hardware store and buy anything you want. Like that's where I'm aiming.
it's pretty much to the point of anyone can make it from literally anywhere. Like,
Most of the makes right now have been international. Like I didn't intend for it to be metric, but like it is. There's kind of a way to do it in metric, and most of the makes so far have been metric.
I mean, I guess that's like I always think about like the FGC9, how that one is pretty much almost all just metric screws and everything. It's
Mhm.
nice for I guess everyone abroad, but like if you're an American, it's a pain to try to
I
find.
mean, yeah, there's some things that are easy to get in the U.S. like that Amazon has made really nice. So, for instance, I have some 3/32 pins, right? But they're also like really close to 2.5 millimeter. And I designed the gun that way. There's like a bunch of pins and screws and bolts and things that have a really close metric equivalent. So you can basically just swap them out. Um,
I'm
and it's easier just to go to Amazon and buy like a pack of those things for you can get 50 of them for $5 or whatever. And if you wanted to get that in the U.S., whatever the equivalent would be, it would a lot more.
I mean, I feel like pretty much all of this can, or really all of this can be done somewhere like without any regulated parts. I mean, the real challenge would be just
Oh
metal
yeah.
work, really. And
Yep.
if you basically have the ability to do some sort of spot welding and stuff like this, I mean, this is honestly, I'm not sure too much about like full DIY like shotguns really, or if there are any other better versions besides just the Slamfire. But
Uh,
this is a obviously no like I don't think there was anything else like it.
no, I don't think so. So like, yeah, the Slamfire was like the best thing you could make, like the average person could make at home. Like you really can go down to the hardware store and buy this stuff and make yourself a Slamfire shotgun. You really can. There's the seam to deal with, but that's not insurmountable. You can deal with that in like 15 minutes in a file, right?
Sort of.
And yeah, right. And this is kind of that same thing, but grown up. That like, okay, yeah, you've done all this, but like, and that cost you, I don't know, maybe 20-30 bucks at the hardware store, right?
Right.
This is all of that, and it's going to be like, okay, now it's actually a gun that like it wouldn't be you wouldn't throw it away when you got a better one from the guard. You'd be like, no, hand this down to the next guy. And it's actually pretty like you can continue to use it, and you won't be like, oh, this is a good piece of garbage. This is the new garbage rod. No, like this is it's limited. It is what it is, but like it's very serious if you're the guy in front of it.
Yeah. Personally, I think that's the very like one of the most interesting parts about the Liberator shotgun out of almost all the other different printed guns is that they're I don't they always like the thing people always tell you if you like for whenever you talk about the FGC9 it's like oh build a Ludi or something that's just buy a Ludi or something like that there's just not an equivalent at all
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but that to me you're even still though you still are going to be selling kits and
Mhm.
that or I'm kind of curious so I don't really for or at least for the kits wise how how is that or how's that exactly going to work? I'm not sure if you want to go into that for some people that are at least interested if they ever want to do it.
If you want, you can click on the store link there. It has the info, but the short version is like the like again, you can always just buy the stuff yourself. Like all the files, all the templates are out there. You can get it laser cut or water jet cut or whatever you want yourself. Um, but like there's some tapping to do. There's some like drilling holes out to the proper size and finishing and all that. Like if you don't have a drill press, like it's definitely going to be easier to buy one. And if you do have a drill press and you do have a metal bandsaw or a laser cutter or whatever, like yeah, go ahead and completely make one. Like it's fine too. So yeah, the idea is the receiver kit for the Minuteman is $100, and that like is the AR lower, right? You can swap that out to different guns. And then there's the Cafe 4-inch kit, which is the 12 gauge. There's a 20 gauge version. There is the either the pipe or the 4130, configuration of that. And it's actually really the exact same gun to me, like in code wise, but the flare projector, the FP37, it also is interchangeable on there.
Huh. So someone also asked right now, where can I find this website? If you were to go to the Twitter bio or at Big Tan Gringo's Twitter bio, it should be the first link there. YouTube will not allow this thing in there. And
Yep.
I also want to just mention something. Wolfwin says, I cat everything in inch spec to annoy people in the EU. You, you evil bastard.
I'm a little bit of both. So OpenSCAD doesn't have it's unitless, right? It doesn't know about inch or metric or inch and millimeters, which is actually kind of a pain in the ass. You kind of want to say like, oh yeah, this is, and then like later on you can convert between the two. It's no big deal. But so yeah, it's an inch thing. All the stuff that I use is inch for the most part, so it is what it is. But like I said, it's fairly easy to convert between either inch standard or metric standard parts. Like all that, I think some people have probably played with. I think is the way it's pronounced is Mephistopheles, OpenSCAD custom configurator for one of the gun projects, right? Like you can use OpenSCAD to configure like
The
I
Mod
want this
9,
piece
the V3, I think.
yeah
That.
yeah
I wish I could build a V3. Those ones are a lot more. That one I think has the extractor on it, but it is significantly harder. But
yeah.
I know Spooky uses SolidWorks, and I think Vin uses Fusion. So I didn't.
Yeah, the SCAD is not super friendly to a lot of people. It's mixed bag. On one hand, like it's very easy. So for me, the 12 gauge, the pipe version, the 4130 version, the 37 millimeter, those to me are all the same exact gun. Like I just change the barrel dimensions on it and poof, off they go. Like it's all parametric, right? Which I suppose could probably be done in modern CAD programs like F360 or whatever. But like for me, doing the like 3D printed gun thing, like having F360 is just out because it's in the cloud. Like ultimately, if they want to shut you off, like okay, your cool Liberator project and it's off. Sorry, the end. That's just a no go. So maybe SolidWorks, but it's commercial, which leaves me with FreeCAD, which is rough, and OpenSCAD, and I'm a software engineer, so like the OpenSCAD was the obvious answer for me.
Tinkercad also exists, although I think that one is we all have to start somewhere, I guess. That one is not a good idea to use. I wouldn't recommend doing anything important in that one. But
yeah, we've got a couple questions if you want to go through them. We got I think Drunken Leaf's the last one about ECMing a bolt.
So I was going to go to that first, or I was going to go to that next. Was now I think if anyone wants to, if you have a movie prop or some sort of movie you're filming, you can go visit the Liberator K project or 12K project. Very nice for that. But I was going to ask you specifically about ECM and where you are, or how you or what your role was in ECM, because from what I remember from speaking to Ivan was you were the one that apparently told them about ECMing rifling.
Yeah, so I'd put out the ECM rifling. So what I did is I've prototyped the ECM rifling like with printed tooling. Like all of the if you actually go on the website, there's actually a link under there for the ECM was it tools and resources, ECM tools. The rifling stuff has been around for years, right? Like I don't know how long it was around before Ivan got to it, but yeah, just prototyped that stuff, right? To see like, is this possible, and what can we do with it, and what are its capabilities, and
so
explore,
let's go.
We
should probably explain to some people that might not know exactly what ECM is. It's, sure. I think you are probably a better person to explain this, but what is exactly ECM, and why is it, I guess, such a big deal?
So, I mean, the short version is that you can machine metal at home with just salt water and electricity and like a little bit of like copper wire. And one of the things that, is useful and important that we care about making is rifled barrels. Before ECM, making your own rifled barrel was either you needed a press and like a button, which was hard at best, and or you needed like cut rifling, which was like the next like realistic possibility for the average home guy was cut rifling, and that is
Like button
you need a
rifling.
machine that doesn't exist, right? There's no like 3D printed cut rifling machine that doesn't exist. All the closest things have been homemade. Like, okay, I made a rifling machine and it's like 8 feet long, right? There was nothing that like, okay, yeah, you can just run this like literally in the kitchen sink, or in a bucket. Like that's the footprint of the thing. Um,
I
so
mean,
yeah, now you can make a rifled barrel at home in a bucket.
yeah, you could basically just use. You're basically using copper wire and electricity to do it, or when normally you're supposed to be. I guess I think the other option people always mention button rifling, which I think
Yeah,
requires a drill press. Which Mr. Snow has a video on that specifically from my barrel
yeah.
of how that went.
Not a drill press. You need a lot, like you need a lot more than that. You need a hydraulic press is probably what you're thinking.
You could use a drill press, but it doesn't go well apparently. I think that was
No,
what
I bet
Mark
not.
Serbu I think did on his video was he tried doing that with just a normal drill press and it just did not come out well. Now,
Yeah, no, the button rifling is not super friendly. So like the ECM made it like so that anyone can do it. Like, you know, even for the whole 12K project, and like part of this has been the ECM, right? The whole 12K project's been this needs to be something that you can do in an apartment with a girlfriend. And like it
she
takes
might be able
people a
to
moment to
notice.
realize like that, yeah, it can't be a mess, right? Can't make a bunch of noise. um and but yeah, like you can have a gun factory like in your in your bathroom.
I will say the noise, the pump itself is probably the loudest part out of all of it, in which I feel like it was the vibrations that made it probably the most noticeable thing.
Yeah.
But so specifically, at least there, or at least I know. So Ivan was saying that you were kind of the one that told them about ECMing and everything.
Hmm.
Where or how did you at least learn about ECMing? And you were showing me a bunch of different like things because there's the one that I did on my video about it where it was the copper wire one. It's the one that Ivan did, the ECM or two, which is you could find in like the Mark II files and on Odyssey.
Yeah, so I originally came across ECM. There was a guy who made a video, a Finnish guy, I think, like just some dude in his garage, and he had made a rifling mandrel, the insulating plastic mandrel, with like a piece of plastic rod and like cut the rifling by hand and all that. And he wasn't even.
You cut out there a little bit. Hello. Oh no. Oh no. I'll give him a couple seconds. Jeff, you still there? Okay, I'll give him some time a little bit, but I will mention something in the chat I did see was apparently I guess people are finally noticing the game in the background. Yeah, this is a Twitch stream I did like I want to say Monday-ish. Yeah, it's a yeah, it's Data Live. It's I was gonna see how long it could possibly go before people noticed or even mentioned it. Apparently, yeah, that's very obvious for you guys. Um, Let me see if I can try to get Jeff back. Um, but that's a little bit unfortunate. Don't worry. Let me see if he's still here. But in the meantime, let me just. Oh, wait, you're back. I saw a noise.
Yeah, I my computer froze up on me. I'm going to reboot that right now, but I'm on mobile, so I can keep chatting.
Okay. Well then, all right, guys. Don't worry. I guess everything's back to normal. That was a nice little scare, but
We're back.
okay. Yeah, we're all back now. I guess. Yeah. I'll I'll leave the fun little The fun little gameplay. Yes, at some point I realize, oh yeah, this is Twitch. This isn't the YouTube settings, and then I make it full screen. I realize how janky that looks, but hey, whatever. It's it's to help the YouTube algorithm be nice and confused. So
You know, you got to keep that thing on its toes.
don't. It's not. It's, everyone's telling me it's a skinwalker. How do I know this is Jeff? What? Something that Jeff would only say.
It'd probably be something Fed posting.
Okay, we'll save the Fed post a little bit later. I'm assuming. Well, I got it. What about? Would you 3D print nukes? Allow 3D printed nukes?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's Jeff. All right.
Let's find a company that deals in uranium. I posted on Twitter to see if I could buy some uranium, but I didn't hear anything back.
Some depleted rods.
No, they sell not even depleted. They sell like the the good shit, I guess.
Well, there's the old story for chemistry is the people that get like the americium from like fire detectors, and then someone tried to make like a reactor in their garage, and then eventually,
nuclear boyfriend.
Yeah, it didn't go well. In which he got really bad radiation poisoning, and so did the neighbors. But how?
Yeah, there's more to that story. I think he died from cancer, like because he went back and he's like, no,
It's nothing.
He's like, no, he stopped me from making a nuclear reactor.
Oh, okay. You're back to normal. Okay.
Let's see.
Well, you were a little bit robot-y. I was going to ask that.
On chat.
Yeah,
I lose you again.
No, I can hear you.
Are we there? I've got you, but your volume is down.
Okay.
Hello. There we go. Okay, we're back actually on the computer now. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it couldn't be a live stream if there wasn't people just asking, "Hey, do I sound? Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me?"
Oh yeah, no. It's something has to go wrong along the way.
But okay, now that that's all taken care of, and we've already established you aren't a skinwalker. We were talking about some random Finnish dude who was doing the ECM thing. So basically, he's just the way you're describing it. He'd done
the ECM mandrel the hard way. He like cut it by hand, and I was like, shit, man, I can print that. I started like iterating over that. And basically, like, the version that you have from Ivan is very close to what I had. It's like a brain dump of that. And he's got some other stuff to, like, simplify it for people a lot.
The progressive rifling, I guess. Now, I'm not too well-versed in rifling and stuff like that, but from my guess is that pistol bullets are not the same as rifle bullets, and I guess I'm not really sure what the importance of, I guess, progressive rifling over a normal, I guess, standardized twist would be.
It's more of like a gentle spin up, like it's giving your bullet a chance to spin up instead of just instantly throwing it into like, all right, here you go at 100,000 RPM or whatever instantaneously.
Okay, so I guess it kind of makes some sense, but. Okay, so the way the original ECM basically started was some dude just carved in with a knife into some sort of plastic mandrel. You basically decided, I'm going to 3D print this, and there's a couple people telling me like a bunch of other different spins people have taken on it. There's Ivan's one, which I've done personally. I know how that one works. It's pretty easy and very simplistic for most people to use. I think a good old friend of the channel, Tech Guns, is working on something where it's just a steel rod with, I think, a couple holes in it. And that's just there's no copper wires at all for that one. It's just a steel rod in there. What do you know exactly about these? Because you were telling me it's like all in the FOSSCAD files and everything.
Oh no, it's in the 12K files. So there's different versions of it, right? So the original one was just a plastic printed mandrel, right? The whole that whole thing is solid, and then you inlay copper into the channels, right? That's the traditional like ECM rifled mandrel, the original one that I made. There's the what I call the monocore rifled mandrel, and I don't know if they did this on their own or whatever, because I haven't like talked about it very much, but it's been a thing. This monocore rifled mandrel that has just a single solid rod in the middle and no wires that you have to lay in, and instead there's just the plastic is just shaped differently, and it just leaves room for this big solid core in the middle.
And that would be, I guess, somewhat convenient because I guess a big complaint I've gotten from a lot of people is that they just can't fit the rifling in or the gauge or the proper gauge in.
Yeah, and it's okay. That gets into the other thing that I'm working on, right? So like, okay, let's leave rifling behind a bit, I guess, and we'll talk about like the other thing that I'm working on, which is the drill, which I think is the more exciting thing.
Well, this is this the ECM still like the using a little bit of ECM technology?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's definitely ECM. It's just different. So like we have the rifling, right? So in which case like you take a tube that you already take an already made tube that has a hole in it, right? You bore that out to the right size. You go ahead and put the rifling in there with the printed mandrel. What I'm working on now, or have it's been around for a while, but like I've been working on the revolver and getting the top break out and all that. But this is also on the site is the ECM drill, which is I call it the ECM drill or CNC lathe or whatever. It's kind of they're kind of the same thing, kind of not.
I mean, I
Um,
think a good primer for people would be the pictures that you sent me before, because I think I'm not sure how many
yeah,
people even know that you can do other things with ECM besides rifling a barrel.
yeah. So if you
If I
if you
pull,
have it there, you want to pull up any of those pictures.
yes,
We could do
I
so
have
you can
some of.
ECM all kinds of things, right? You
So
can ECM like fixed shapes. Yeah, this is the AR-15
I'll
fire control group.
I'll leave this here. I'll leave it on one of these. Let me see if I can find yeah, this is the one I want to go. It's on a hypothetical 80% lower for a cause or for a proof of concept design for I think some movie scene where criminals are doing bad things and they need something. But
Hmm.
what is exactly going on here? Because this is apparently ECM still, but it's not the way that
Yeah,
most
so
people I think of it.
yeah, so like the big thing to take away from ECM is that you can put almost any shape you want into it, right? It's like you can do a cookie cutter shape. You could do if you know like what a relief is or something like that. Like you can take any shape you want, make it conductive, and slow. You can ram it or press it into the into metal. So like there will be a point where we can take. So just imagine it's like a poly 80 finishing frame, right? The little plastic housing you put it in. So imagine that thing. Like take the two shells, paint each side with like copper, so you can make it conductive. And now you can go get a big chunk of aluminum, and you can slowly push those conductive pieces together, and potentially make an AR-15 lower from just billet. That's the kind of stuff that we can do with ECM when we're like really getting bonkers with it.
Yeah, because I mean, when I think about ECM, I mean, you just have to have salt water running through some conductive, or I guess material, where then you can machine it off.
Hmm. Yep.
And the
Yeah, like
most, yeah, the most simplest
the
concept is the rifling one. I'm looking at how you're doing this image right here, and also, by the way, I saw someone mention Zurad. Yeah, no, I should have mentioned that too. He's the one also
mhm.
doing a bunch of other ECM stuff too. Uh,
Yeah, Zura is doing good ECM stuff.
this like
So
how
this one was really dumb. It's not CNC. All I did was I took that exact same pump that y'all have, and it's hooked up to a pipe fitting right there. And the central block is hollow. There's a wire running up from the copper plate on bottom, up through the center of that block, and then it's soldered to that brass fitting there. So it's conductive from the top to the bottom.
and did it work?
Um, I didn't run it through an 80% lower because that was like, I don't know, $60. I didn't want to burn if it didn't work out. And I wasn't like, it wasn't good enough that I was like, yeah, I'm going to just send it, right? No, it wasn't that close. It was like, this has promise, one of those things that like, I'm going to come back and check this out.
Well, I think
Um,
that'd be yeah. It's a fun maybe that could be a later beta test, but like this, I guess yeah, this would be the down like because also someone was mentioning too apparently or other people already kind of heard of also I guess or ECM
mhm.
lathe or CNC machine. Is there another one of these I could probably find of that one specifically?
Um, yeah, so go back to the tooling page, and there will be a ECM lathe, CNC lathe.
I'll pull that up in a second, but basically,
Yeah.
go ahead and explain how we go from like the AR one to the ECM CNC late. Because
So yeah, so this was like just a really dumb, not even a machine that I threw together, right? It literally like sucks water through the bottom and pulls its way down as metal gets out of the way, like it just gets closer and closer, and that like there's insulation there, so that as soon as it bumps in, it can't go any further. It can't touch and short out. It was hacky, but it largely worked. And then we get into the drill here, which is like a total departure, right? So the other one, we call it ECM RAM, is what probably be the proper name for that. This is more ECM drilling, and the fact that I put it on CNC makes it kind of a lathe too. Um, so originally, yeah, like this is can I put a hole through bar stock? Because starting with tubing is one thing, but like if you can start with bar stock, you're really off to the races. Like they're not going to stop you at all. There's nothing. What are they going to do? Ban bolts? No. Like the plan this whole time was to like go get like a 3/4 inch, a big honking bolt, ECM that baby out, and put a pilot hole through it, and then I can bore it to whatever size I want, and I can put rifling in it, and I have a gun barrel out of a bolt. Um, and so this is working towards that, and I basically did it. Like I got to the point, like I have holes in there that are small enough to put a 22 in. Like I could rifle that for 22, and you'd be off and going. Like
This
that tiniest one there.
I'm looking through all of them exactly because I'm trying to just piece together everything that's going on. So basically, you get a pilot hole inside, or you basically punch it in. This
Kind. Um, so like the way I would describe it is like if you, as a kid, you ever took like a hose with like the sprayer on it, right? And
Yeah.
you push that into the ground, and you can just keep on pushing. That's kind of what it's like.
Huh.
That's the close. That's like the close. He's doing it with electrochemical machining instead. Like that's kind of the vibe of what's going on. The electrolytes just eating that stuff away and blowing it out of the way, blowing it out of the hole.
I mean, this is already significantly easier than just drilling. I mean, I guess if you have a drill
Oh yeah.
press, then yeah. Because I'll say this: I'll choose making ECM barrels any day of the week over having to drill through like a hole through bolt. Like I'm
I will
genuinely terrible.
definitely put a straighter hole in a piece of stock than most people will with a drill press. 100%. I'll beat Mark at
Like
that.
I'll say like yeah, the promise of this is just I this yeah this is a very very interesting thing just because the you could like there's what else can you drill then like you can do so much more with this.
So so there's a couple things here. The ones that you see that are like bigger dished holes and all of that. This is some of my earlier work. Like towards the end, I got to the point where like I can just put just a tiny little hole through this thing, no problem. It's not fast, but like yeah, there's a picture right there. The little blue diagram is a good example of
What ECM is.
what this particular drill is doing.
Oh, okay. So basically okay, I think I kind of get okay, this is yeah, that is okay, that actually works.
Yep.
That's incredible. That is actually amazing. Yeah, someone was also asking too was how do you get the water not or do you need to filter all the water and everything?
No,
Not
no, don't
really.
get to the water.
So
No.
the nice thing about ECM and because the metals, I guess, it all kind of just settles in the bottom. Now, what you should definitely do is you have like a little like maybe piece of cloth so you don't suck it up into your pump. But
I will say this: I've found that running it continuously, like I've cut a lot of stuff with this, and I've found that just running the same 5 gallons of electrolyte continuously is not that big of a deal.
yeah,
You would think it would be, but it's not.
I will like I mean the water most of it settles down like on the
Mhm.
bottom part. That's the
Yep.
I guess the metal, but it got cut just goes there.
Yep.
But
Yep.
the water itself is usually fine enough for a decent amount. I just the pump's the
Um,
part I'm more afraid of anything.
yeah, like I wouldn't put your intake like in the bottom of that of the reservoir. Like take water from the top and feed it back down to the bottom or whatever, right? But like it'll settle out eventually. But if you're just ECMing stuff, you don't actually have to filter that. You can just send it dirty. Like I thought it would be a problem, and it just never was. It will keep breaking down into smaller and smaller bits, and you end up with that atomically fine stuff, and there's just no big chunks left.
I, I mean, this is like yeah, this stuff. Perhaps to maybe everyone that's not completely, I guess, not really too like engineer focused or like engineering like mindset. Kind of. The only reason why I kind of understand this is just because I've done the ECM, but like this is massive in that you don't
Kind of
have
a
to
big deal.
yeah, you don't have to drill through steel, which dear God, as someone who has had very little like work with metal, trying to drill hole through steels it's just this would save so much more time. Like
Hmm.
I would feel much more confident doing this instead of drilling.
Yep.
And
Yep. For sure.
I guess what's so you've you've been testing this, you've been doing this.
Hmm.
What where do you want to like? What's the next couple of like? What's the next steps for this besides, I guess, rifling or just rifling or cutting holes through stuff? Like, what other applications do you see this being used for? What do you want this to be used for?
So yeah, there's actually even a picture there. I was originally That was one of the things I was originally planning on doing with the 12K project, is selling ECM kits. There's a picture of one right there. It was supposed to be a toolbox full of ECM stuff. Um, but yeah, like there will probably be a kit that you can buy that's like, yeah, here's the power supply and all of the electrodes and all that to drill through. To make like the idea would be to go from zero to a barrel, right? To go from you go buy your own bar stock, your own bolts or whatever. You drill them out, you drill a pilot hole through them, you bore them to size, you rifle it, you chamber it, and so yeah, you have a whole pistol barrel out of like a hex bolt. That was kind of the what I have in mind for this, and that like if I can get to that point, and like I would love to get to the point where I can get someone a kit for that. That would be pretty awesome
Now,
because
some
like you don't even need tubing at that point, right? Or yeah, like you can just do it all yourself.
so something that I do see someone mention. So, like, I guess you should also mention this specifically. I guess kind of for the ECM stuff. So, I guess whenever you're using your stovepipes and stuff like that, it needs to have a lot of good pressure. So, I think the rating is 40 CR that is recommended or something. I think that's
Yeah, that's a Chinese standard of tubing. You can get there's tubing U.S. side that works just fine, but like that crew's all focused on doing metric stuff.
right. So,
So
but like I guess these are like this is like this steel's a lot harder than your average, I guess, like round stock here. Your mid
yeah, it's
steel.
not mild steel. It's definitely an alloy steel,
And
like a normalized alloy steel.
someone's mentioning, have you ever ECM tungsten carbide? Is that even
I
that
have not, but it should be doable.
it? That's the
I
nice thing.
think I haven't because I'm sure that would create like tungsten carbide sludge that I don't want to deal with. Like that stuff will make your balls fall off on a good day.
Yeah,
So like I haven't, but like you should be able to. It's conductive.
like that's the nice thing about ECM is that it like you don't have to worry about like drill bits and how hard something is because it's you're
Hmm.
just chipping away at it. That's the really nice part about it is that I mean, could you use stainless like you could yeah you can make bolts out of stainless steel without like real tooling or like the
You can, but stainless has a lot of chromium in it.
okay,
So
that's
stainless is like 20% chromium, and you don't want to
yeah, that's a good
make a
point.
bunch of.
That,
Yeah.
but the point is that you can get a lot harder steel. You'll be able to cut through harder steel that you probably would not be
Oh
able to
yeah.
do with your average tool. Like
You would at best. So like at a minimum, you have to have like carbide tooling to cut through something. So like I learned this with the 12K recoil plates. If you get like 4130 laser cut, it'll harden around little holes. So like I've got some 4130 that is just harder than a coffin nail around these holes that I'm supposed to thread and tap. Um, and you need carbide to cut through it. I seriously thought about like I could just ECM these out, and that would completely fix this problem. And ECM would not care in the slightest that it's you know got hardened by a laser or whatever. Doesn't care.
so, like that to me I just find is just amazing. But there's I mean, the one thing that I kind of always, or the challenge I feel like with a lot of the ECM stuff though, for like barrels and things, is finding the proper steel like domestically, because that's kind of the pain for me. I think there is.
There's lots of it. It's just not in metric sizes.
So I did notice that someone linked to me. It's like aircraft steel, I guess.
Yeah. It's 4130 normalized tubing. That's what I started with.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's what is the equivalent of? All right. So what's the one that's equivalent to then? I guess like the 40 CR then.
Yeah, 41. It would be 4130 normalized. So like the stuff that I get is the brand name is Plymouth. That's the company that makes it. It's Pro Moly is their product. But it's 4130 normalized, like you call it aircraft grade or whatever tubing. But if you go to like anyone who makes like car frames or airframes or any of that like off-road type stuff, any welding shop, they'll know exactly what that stuff is.
And that to me, yeah, that is That is like something that I kind of, or like I think I still have some shipping steel that's like somewhere lost in like the ships from China that'll come back. Like I purchased last year, I'll hopefully be here maybe next April.
I call that Chinese Santa. Like
Yeah,
it's like when you bought something for yourself and you forgot all about it, and then it shows up like months later. You're like, oh man, what did I get myself?
yeah, the
Like, oh
AliExpress.
look, gun barrel.
Oh yeah, I forgot I got that from AliExpress. That's a cool break. Yeah, that's nice, and I'm glad I bought that a while ago. That's,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
I
Merry
forgot I
Christmas
got
to
this.
me.
Yeah, nice. So like that. That's the one thing that I think I might be experimenting later with is just doing that specifically, just because I like.
Oh yeah, I don't. So I haven't looked at what exactly is required for the FGC 9 barrels. I don't know if anyone's done like a US side conversion instead of that 40 CR. Like I don't know, my own 2 cents. If you're in the US, like buying that Chinese steel is silly. There's no reason to do that. You can get it in the US. Like they'll have it at your doorstep
That,
for
yeah,
in a couple days.
that one. Well, I mean, because like most of it, like I could pick up like a 3/4 steel rod in like a Home Depot or something.
Hmm.
You're not. I don't think you can go to like an Ace Hardware or Home Depot or Lowe's and find the like that type of a steel there.
You cannot. You
That's a little
cannot.
bit more of a challenge. I don't. Does or McMaster's sell it too? I don't know exactly.
McMaster will potentially. So like this is one of the things that got me on the drill is I believe you can get 4130 rod from Tractor Supply. It's like there's places that sell like the rod but don't have tubing. Tubing's a much higher order for these things. Um, yeah, so you can get it from Amazon. Online Metal sells it. That's where I get my stuff from. But
Yeah.
yeah, you can get the stuff US side. You don't have to, but you have to get it like converted to US sizes. I don't know what
Well,
is involved in that necessarily, but it really shouldn't be too much.
I
It
mean,
just be anyone who wants to can convert it over.
because this, I mean, this kind of goes to the next nice thing that I wanted to talk about you or with you specifically, just because the way your Liberator is and kind of my interest for most printed guns. I really care mostly about the ones that are unique frames, like things that are their own design, stuff that I can build myself that I don't have to rely on parts kits.
Yeah, yeah. Or at least for me, it was like it was always for us no gun parts, right? No official gun parts, and that includes like paintball parts. Like if it looks like a gun part, they'll call it a gun part and they'll ban it.
Well,
It
yeah.
can't be
I,
bolts and crap like that.
well, there was always the joke for was airsoft parts kits, where I think you can buy full auto like Chinese airsoft parts kits and stuff like that, and a bunch of like places I think like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, all of them ban like the imports of those type of triggers, anyways. So like
Yeah,
it's
sure.
just it like the original FGC 9 like Mark One or like I want to say the guide specifically mentioned use like you could use airsoft steel, although you need to do a couple of extra things with it.
Mhm.
That like that I guess is kind of or now I guess I kind of got done away with the printed parts kits, but I kind of I personally find the more interesting stuff, the stuff that you don't have to rely too much on like oh this one the best example I could think of is the FSN 40 or the FNS 40. I'm not sure if you remember that design.
Mm-mm.
So that's the one that Vin and some other guy, I forgot who the other guy's name was, but they worked really hard on this. It was like one of those like a buyback or some parts kits, whatever the reasoning they had it for. It was
Mhm.
essentially you could buy everything for the gun for $120, $130. So it
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
like
sure.
this took over like the high point, or like oh yeah, I can build this thing way for practically nothing, and it's an actually good gun.
Mhm.
PSR makes this video on it, and it breaks 1 million views. Parts get sold out within seconds. Like you can
Oh
now
yeah.
like they're gone, and they're only being sold by scalpers for like
Yeah, and
400,
yeah, that's
500.
going to happen to like any of the stuff that's parts kit, right? Like the supply, especially now. Like clearly, there is a market for people who want to make their own stuff, right? And as soon as you can make a gun with a parts kit, like boop, it's gone,
Yeah,
right?
no, and like I guess I think for the set me like that's not too big of a deal just because like those have been out there forever, and it's still going to be a challenge to do that.
Yeah.
Like when I look exactly like let me pull this up again for like the ECM stuff, like the barrels and stuff like this, like some or I know specifically for like the setme and stuff, the barrels are the challenge to get
Hmm.
because you can't
Yeah,
ship
and
those in if those are the
that's
full
the
on.
ultimate goal with this stuff, right? Is to like, so okay, so this ECM drill lathe thing, it's CNC, so I can. The reason that's important is I can so right now the drill bit just goes straight down, doesn't matter where it's cutting, left, right, whatever. But if you replace the drill bit that it has with something that like cut at the side, you could cut rifling in there with the same like machine, right? So instead of cutting straight down, we cut at the side and we just slowly work our way down and put rifling in there.
No,
And then potentially use that same tool to add a chamber as well.
so
And like that could be a next chamber for like an AR cartridge.
like a bottleneck, but like
Exactly.
the one thing that I've been like, I'm more interested is like how could this be used for something like making bolts and stuff like the for me
Oh
I
yeah.
like because for homemade or like for the fully DIY stuff like the FGC9 the Mod 9 uh, the FGC9 is a very simple bolt design. It's just like I mean you can easily do it, and I think the newer version or the Mark II whoever helped up with that weldless design is it's an ingenious idea of you just cut a little hole like a little square hole in, and then you just
Hmm.
put a square like rod in there,
Yep.
like just a small amount of square rod, and then you just JB weld it, and it holds incredibly well.
A little bit of metal in the right place goes a long way.
Oh,
I'm a big advocate. Like use metal where it matters, and like, oh yeah, it turns out you just need a little bit in this notch here.
it's yeah, it works very very well, and like that or now the Mod 9 volt that's a little bit more challenging, but like being able to make that part significantly easier, I think, would help a lot with people trying to make these wonderful props because you can make the best thing ever, but if you can't use it, if you can't make it, it's just
Yeah, yeah,
it's
you
a
have to be able to
wonderful proof
make.
of concept. Like a Ludi's, how many Ludis do you see really ever? Like
So like that gets into like why I've developed my guns the way I have, right? So they should be easy off the shelf parts from like literally Home Depot, so that you don't have to. Yeah, man, and like some of the original older 12K stuff, like I had what I called tech levels, right? Like level zero is like you have a hacksaw, like you have a hacksaw and maybe a hammer to your name, and that's kind of like how you got to make it happen. Maybe some files. You don't even have a grinder. Um, and like starting from the lowest, you know, common denominator of like, aiming for this, you can make it in your um, apartment, that kind of thing.
so, like I mean, for me, it's just the idea of being or the implications of what you can do with this just incredible because it just if you can somehow get or at least the instructions simple enough for your average person to follow, it will be just the adoption will just go through the roof, and then you can now get way more or you'll have more people trying to make their own things from it, and then you can just see how it will just grow more and more. Like what's the guy? We,
Yeah,
we were talking about the guy. What was the dude on Twitter? I think or Danex,
Xanakin, something like that.
Zanakin.
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to always post videos of I guess the black markets in like the Netherlands or somewhere in Europe and stuff like that. You'll usually always see some like older like World War II guns or like Soviet era, Cold War era guns, but occasionally and much more oftenly you'll see a bunch of FGC nines.
Oh yeah.
In
Yeah.
Europe, I guess they're super popular. Like he's been constantly just posting more and more of them out there, and like having made one myself, I could tell you, it's not really that hard to do compared
Yeah.
to compared to a Ludi, which I'm not sure. You seem like you've been more involved in the like DIY homebrew firearm community. Have you ever built a Ludi, or do you know anyone that built one?
No, I
That's
like
the
the idea. Like, so I've actually been curious if you could ECM one. So there's a lot of cuts in there that like you got to either do with hacksaw or grinder or whatever. And I've been like, if you look at one, there's a lot of contours and shapes and whatnot that like could probably benefit from being ECM cut out.
I mean, well, the meme about the Ludi is that like everyone says, yeah, make a lootie, but no one actually knows anyone that's really made a lootie before.
Yeah, no, I don't know anyone who's no.
Because
I don't know anyone who's even tried to make a lootie. Being able to print it is night and day different.
yeah, no, it's such a noticeable difference, and like that to me is the biggest thing with at least the Liberator project, the like FGC9 project, the Mod 9 project, is that these are you're not using or it's you don't have to rely too much on like gun companies' frames and parts kits. I guess the Mod 9 a little bit less because I think they're using Glock barrels in the most recent one. Um, but like the FGC9 uses an ECM barrel. Really,
Hmm.
I guess right now the only thing you really need to worry on that one is specifically is just like or the AR-15 fire control group, or I guess springs in that point. But
Hmm.
how are they going to be able to fully regulate springs properly? That's I guess
No, I mean ultimately no. Like you can go get music wire. Like if you have access, as long as they're pianos, right? Like you'll be able to make springs.
right. Yeah. No, and that to me like I guess like what you can do for like bolts. Like I was kind of mentioning this to you, sort of was th- whenever we like what is going to be the next possible step, what's going to be the next major innovation you would see at least like you expect to see with something. Because for me, I think
with
like
ECM or gun, like
like
3D printed guns or
well, I
what
think like
specifically?
what could like ECM be doing? Because for me, I think like the challenge is some sort of like delaying mechanism or whatever we can do, and like that would require
No, I think the delay mechanism is the wrong way to think about it.
really
It's you want a locking system,
okay.
and then the delay system is what you put on top of that. So like, yeah, it could be if you could fire. Yeah, I think it's the chambered barrel with that like you chamber an AR-15 round or a 5.56, right? That's probably the next thing, and like doing the barrel extension too. I don't know, man. I don't know about the bolts. Like even like a good bolt today, or like a today, like people farm that out to get heat treated the right way. So I don't know if like an AR bolt, like a DIY AR bolt, is really in the future. Like it maybe could be, but heat treat on that is supposed to be, I think, like really pretty exact. And like when things fail, like that's what fails. And if something's gonna blow up the gun, like if your bolt is bad, that's the kind of stuff that can kill you.
Yeah, I mean, most of the issues I always imagine are just people that will screw up and load too much. It's bad reloads when I think of gun explosions.
Oh, sure. I mean,
Yeah,
if you
Bubba's
double
hot
charge
loads
a if
type
you
of a
double
thing.
charge a case, that's on you, man. Sorry, sorry about your face.
Yeah, I think that's the more common one I usually see. That was for me my biggest fear was that like or if the bullet explodes, but like luckily for me, I live in the U.S. and I don't have to worry about making my own ammo
Yeah.
because
That's that. I mean, that's one of the nice things about the 12 gauge is you can print that stuff and it's no big deal.
well, yeah, you can still use black powder for that, right?
You could, yeah. Certainly in the like the break action wouldn't carry black powder all day in that thing.
Well, yeah, I mean the that's the other. Or have you seen what was it, Suckboy Tony's work?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've been encouraging Suckboy Tony since it was way crazier than it is today.
Yeah,
It's
the
awesome. The plasma ignition. I like his plasma ignition. That's great. He also so like he realized something early on that was like also really important for him is if you go with a bigger cartridge, you can get away with lower pressures. And that's part of why that gun is working. And it's one of those things like have the materials and stuff work for you. Don't try and fight them and try and push them into things that they're not supposed to do and all that.
I think they're 50 cals,
Um,
right? Like
Pretty close. They're just shy. I want to say they're like 45 something or other.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
that
it's
guns
awesome.
project has been one of the more interesting looking that and like the flywheel one.
Hmm.
Yeah, those two.
Evan
Yeah,
Jones.
Evan Jones, the guy. He also like makes planes, if I remember correctly,
Mhm.
too.
Yep,
Like
yep.
he's uploaded a couple of those things. Because I mean, for me, I think the two bigger things are first off a gun that you can easily make ammo with, or
Yep.
something
Yep.
that's the our Suckboy Tony was one where it's. I mean that one I think it just uses black powder and it's a caseless one, so that one you can make on your own.
Hmm.
A 3D printed rifle that would be pretty like that's something that I don't really think we've had a fully one. We have the
So
set
the
me like ARs, but nothing like that.
Yeah, so the closest I could do, I haven't done a rifled like long gun barrel. I think I can. And I have a bunch of 4570. That was what I was planning on doing is do a so basically take the same exact like break action that I have, make it 4570. What Evan's doing is very cool because that's an autoloader. That's in the same like territory as the 12 gauge as far as like bolt thrust and all that. They're very close. So if it works with 4570, is a good chance it'll work with 12 gauge. And I love the flywheel thing. Like that's just
Oh,
super
it is a
super fun.
hilariously looking. As a man of anime, I enjoy hilariously large weapons next to like that gun is monstrously large.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I he was having trouble with his frame crack, and I got him on team threaded rod. That's where I hope we all end up. That throw a little bit of threaded rod in your design. It works great.
Well, yeah, that I'm assuming the pressures are much more like the threaded rod or when you're saying threaded rod, do you mean like fully like tightening down, I guess like the layer line sort of a thing?
Yeah. So like Evan in particular, his case, so he had a couple things, right? So he has this flywheel in there, and okay, so now whatever that flywheel is mounted in has to um, take all the pressure and hold on to like really. So the ass end of the gun wants to go recoiling, right, and the forward end of the gun wants to just sit there. This is the same problem that the revolver had, right? The forward end of the gun's got a bunch of mass and wants to stay there. The ass end of the gun wants to go back, and like the only thing holding it together is the tensile strength between the layers. That's it. Which is why, like, you put a little bit of threaded rod in there, like, all of a sudden you have
That's
a big chunk of steel doing it for you instead of
well,
um, plastic.
that's kind of a like the thought process between like the U-bolt, right? Like it's holding down the layer lines of the buffer tube, sort of. So it's keeping it from like or spreading apart.
Yeah, yeah, same kind of deal.
It,
And then the threaded rods, like, I don't know, if you do them the full length of the gun, you make the gun really, really strong.
Now, I do see a lot of people mentioning getting Zurad onto the stream right now. I have him added on Discord, and I think that would be, considering how he is much better at ECM, and I think is doing ridiculously good work. I can see,
Sure.
or I'm trying my best to figure out how to add him to a single call. I don't use Discord well enough because right now we're doing a single DM call. I don't know if there's a way to do that, so I'll let the chat figure that out just a little bit. But like, I too like when it comes to ECM, I'm very much a novice to it. I know chemistry like well enough, sort of, but I don't
I
like.
think, like, so I don't know. I want to give everyone like an intuitive understanding of how this works, and I think like I like the idea of the hose, like hosing away dirt analogy. Like that's to me when I think about doing ECM, it's a lot like that. Um, and like if you can put your head into like, okay, how could I take that and use it to do the different kind of
Oh, oh,
um,
1 second.
that's kind of how I think about ECM working, and I think people can start, making other things in that vein.
Yeah, so I think I've just added Zurad in.
I think
Yeah,
so.
hello.
Hey, hey.
Okay. Well, so Zurad, you have a YouTube channel. I believe it's just Zurad, right?
Yeah, right now it's just Zurad.
I will be sure to add your link in description later. But
Oh,
so I guess I've been watching your content for a little bit, or right around like when I was looking really in depth at ECM and stuff. You too have been really going, or you've been doing much more with ECM than I've done. Which like some of this, I think you're doing like trying to add it to an Ender 3, right?
yeah. Well, first let me say thank you for having me on the chat. Is my audio okay?
I,
You're good.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm working on a modification for the Ender 3 3D printer. It's ubiquitous, everyone has one. The hardest part is honestly just controls. Like right now it's running in an open loop system and that's not great for getting good accuracy. And it's just straight up DC as well. So we don't have any type of pulsing or anything to help augment the accuracy or like localize the reaction.
And if we were, let's try to think about how we can or spell it out to a child, basically.
Okay. So
Ender 3 makes it
Yeah.
much easier. I
Gosh,
have a
how do I do
general.
this?
Don't worry.
Okay, so I've been working with electrochemical machining for I say going on 2 years now. Just kind of reading what I can, using lots of Sci-Hub to read papers and trying to teach myself about it. I think the simplest way to translate what I was saying about there not being enough control. Um, when you machine, you're machining in a vat of electrolyte, a conductive solution.
The
You
salt water.
technically, exactly. So technically, like if you have an anode and a cathode, your positive and negative electrodes sitting in that salt water, every part that's submerged is part of the circuit. Um, Now, what you want with ECM is to close the gap between what you want to machine and the workpiece. I'm sorry, and the like tool electrode. Close that as small as possible without touching. And I mean, that's the main way you would actually control your accuracy. There's a couple other ways that we could get into, but that is the most basic way.
Well, so let me see if I can pull it up again. But I mean, you were hearing what me and Jeff were talking about, the ECM CNC type of a thing.
hmm
So
No, actually, I just got here a few minutes ago, basically up in the chat where I started yelling about getting me on. That's as soon as I got here.
don't don't worry. But basically, it was Jeff. The way you described. Let me see if I can make sure I can understand it properly. But the way you're doing it is basically just pushing water. You're doing the ECM process of like kind of you have like a steel rod and you're shoving it in while still kind of spinning it. I don't even really know the right way to describe it. It looks a little bit more. It's like a giant Ruth Goldberg machine, sort of, but basically, like it's like you have it.
So like think of kind of more like a lathe, right? Like it's closer to a lathe with like a drill chucked in there. It's just an ECM drill instead of a metal one.
Right.
So like the ECM that everyone's familiar with, right, is the rifling or the boring. So the boring, you use like just a rod that's exposed to the entire tube, right, and it eats away the entire tube, all evenly inside. Or you have the rifling, which eats away what's closest to it, and not where it's insulated. So you get the nice rifling pattern in there. You can also eat away at just the tip and bore away
Just
a
the
hole
Yeah.
for drilling or cutting.
Yeah. I mean, I see how this thing works. I can see, or to me, this is the nicest thing about it is it just seems so simple and anyone can
Mhm.
do it.
Mhm.
Now, Zurad, I saw your or the one that you have for the Ender 3. Like, I guess Jeff was also showing us like how my favorite right now is definitely the 80% AR type of a thing. Of that's just I can't. Anyone that's tried doing it like a 80% lower, I'm not sure if anyone's tried that ever, or here, or at least in my chat or anything, because I know I haven't. That's not an easy thing to do.
Out of aluminum, yeah.
Yeah, out of aluminum, unless you
For
have
the
like,
AR specifically.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
don't have like
Yeah.
if you don't have a jig or anything, you're pretty much
You're screwed.
SOL.
You're not going to do it.
Yeah,
It's just not happening.
you can freehand it if you want, but it's not a good idea. Like
I've seen results.
I've seen a couple of videos of it. There are some people that try it. It's not a good idea, but the nice thing about ECM is that it's able to, I guess, you're able to do things that would require the ridiculous amount of tooling and expertise that most your average consumer won't be able to do.
Sure.
And from at least from what I was seeing with your Ender 3 type of a thing, if you're at least looking at the stream right here where I'm showing kind of the CNC lathe, how is this kind of how would you describe what you're working on right now?
The Ender 3 is meant to be primarily the goal is to give a low cost, low learning curve tool for doing 2D machining paths for the most part. That's the idea. My main goal with this is to develop it into something that's more similar to a wire EDM in function. So you want to go through with the entire depth of cut and you're not starting above the workpiece and going down like you see in the video, but you would actually be starting outside of the workpiece or in a drill hole and moving out to do a full depth of cut with a thin needle.
So
So
what do you?
what that would do, the goal is to make something like Send Cut Send. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that company. It's a low cost American laser cutting service. Um, the goal would be to make something like Send Cut Send obsolete, so you could just make your steel parts at home on your desktop silently.
Okay,
Mhm.
I think I kind of understand. So like Jeff, I mean, for I guess more of it to you, what are your thoughts on that type of a thing specifically?
Well, I mean, so like I don't know. So some of it has been around for a while. Some of it's like I don't know. I've done I did the rifling. I've done some of the boring. I've done some of the OD stuff. I did like some tube slotting stuff. Right. I haven't done the like the 2D stuff that Zurad's talking about. That's like that's good. That's good stuff. I mean, it's been something I've thought about, right? But like he's been going after, and I've been chasing other stuff. It's one of those obvious things that like once you understand ECM, you realize that this thing needs to exist. Like we could, so like 3D printing gun people, like in your same bathroom, you could be working on stuff that is actually like um, flats, right? You can make your own like
Exactly, exactly.
AK flat. You can make your own AK flat. You can now print your own mold for what are they called, dies. Print your own dies for it, right? Like
Yep.
you can buy a spot welder for like I don't know, $80, $200 at Harbor Freight, and now you can make like AK stuff in your bathroom too. Maybe expand into the bedroom or something.
Well,
Yeah, and why even stop there though? Why go specifically for AKs? Why
Oh
not
yeah, yeah.
build designs from the ground up? And you were specifically talking about locking systems,
Mm.
not delay
Yep,
systems, which I
yep.
totally agree on. Um,
now as
build
someone
those
who's
locking systems for 2D manufacturing.
now
That's
exactly what is first off what is a locking system specifically?
Locking system is it's a locked breech. It will not open after you fire it unless you mechanically open it. Whether it's with like a pump action shotgun is a locked breech.
Okay, that's
it's a fancy way of saying the cap on the back end that keeps you safe.
that's the
Yeah,
okay. I think I kind of understand. I know what you're talking about now. That help. Or I see what you mean by that. So
yeah.
how
RN50 is
exactly
a
would this?
locked breech.
How would that help with making that? Because I'm assuming. I mean, when we think about like the current ECM rifling for the barrels and stuff, that's kind of just there's no I guess there's really no locking breech or anything for that. It's just the barrel.
Right. I've been playing around with the idea of a locked breech weapon that's primarily made with 2D machining methods. And when I say 2D machining methods, I mean everything is cut at the same depth, or it's all to like you don't have
Through holes
step
and,
ups.
and whatnot bolted together.
Yeah. So the idea I've been playing with has been a modification of the Steyr. Is it Steyr? Stier? I think Ian from Forgotten Weapons says Stier, but the
Don't worry,
Stier
no one here will
ACR.
get me mad here.
Stier ACR was it was like the predecessor to the NGSW Texatron entry for telescoped ammunition, case telescope ammo.
Mm-hmm.
What it uses is a sliding chamber, and the chamber itself can just be a round piece of steel that's bored and then heat treated. The barrel itself does not need a chamber because you have a separate sliding chamber there, and that's just a cylinder. And the rest of the stuff, the movement, the locking, all of that is provided with either welded 2D machined plates or pinned or riveted 2D machined plates.
And I mean, when I'm trying to think about it, so like at least when we are because I really like the idea of also using flats and stuff for that
Mm-hmm.
like for at least the more I guess like general look at it, I guess more of like an overview. The nice thing about it is that it's helping I guess push things further because I mean when it comes to fully DIY stuff, I whether or not it's completely printed to me is I guess irrelevant. I mean the whole point I guess like it was like you can use what's the difference between like a Liberator and an FGC9 if you can still do everything without regulated parts? Why would you really limit yourself to just like a Liberator type of a thing if you don't need to?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Like,
Um, and I think that's a really big that's a big thought for the community at this point. People seem to be really focused on printing as the end all be all, and I have to disagree with. Yeah, I mean, you need metals, even if it's aluminum. You need it for
well,
these
that's
machines.
that's kind of always the thing. If you argue with someone online, oh, I'm using a printed gun, it's always then, oh, well, you have a metal bolt in there, you have this. It always is something like you had a little bit of metal there. I want it only fully printed type of a thing.
Yeah,
That's
they can
that's
just be mad.
yeah. I mean, well, those people, of course, like that's kind of the thing that people just sort of assume. But I mean, really, I think it's less about everything needing to be fully printed. It's using printing as, I guess, a way to help with parts that are more challenging, like making a
Exactly.
magazine
Yeah.
is very, very difficult.
The things we're concerned with is DIY ability,
Right.
Not whether it's printable, DIY ability.
Correct. Yeah, and 3D printing is probably the most cost-effective and I'd say flexible way of removing the operator's skill from the equation. And that's the primary job of people who are engineers in this community. It's to remove the skill from the equation. You want people to be able to press a button and get something that takes 15 minutes to an hour to assemble afterwards, but you don't need to be sitting there and checking things. Is it within 30 thou of this or whatever? You want to make it dumb easy.
Well, right. Yeah. And that's like, I guess, the nice thing. I mean, compared to like the best one I can always think of about, or at least for like printing itself, is just magazines of feed lips are not easy to do. Like like Stetton mags are not or if you want to do this fully homemade, I guess you can't just bend it and like, oh yeah, well these things are kind of curved. That will work perfectly fine. That's not how it. You need to have like proper geometry and stuff.
That's where I think Zurad and I are on the same page. Is like, okay, so we've largely been copying guns that exist. Okay, what if we take this idea in a completely different direction? Now we have these tools, and like, so the AR was made like we have CNC machines now. Cool, right? We can machine aluminum. And like now we have plastic machines, right? So like the 12K doesn't look anything like any of the other guns out there. It was designed to be 3D printed from the ground up, right? To be like made from pieces that are easy to acquire. Right. Like we can do the same thing with other guns, with other like just other PCCs or even other rifles and stuff like that. Like this is stuff that if we design for DIY ability from the ground up, our options are a lot more open. And like the commercial gun industry is not going to do that, right? That's never been something they're going to do. It's not their business model. Like they're all patents and IP and all that stuff.
I mean, that's what makes
the concept is called DFM. It's design for manufacture. So it's tailoring your design. Every step of your design process needs to be tailored to the tools you have on hand. And I think taking another step into that is to design not only with the tools people will have on hand, but design with the skill level people will have. And it's easy to find that skill level if you just pull around the chat. And that's not to disparage people. It's just to be realistic about your.
I think of it like when I started this, I thought of it like it's the size of the market, right? The size of people who can potentially build your design or whatever. Like if they need a TIG welder, like okay, that's way fewer people than no one who lives in an apartment. No one.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, you have 10,000 times less people able to make it.
Well, I mean, that's the nice thing that's kind of for me was the biggest thing is like, why did I make the FGC9 originally to begin with? Well, it's it was something that someone who has very limited skills in any sort of metal work can basically learn off of. I was able to do the weldless bolt. I was able to drill a hole through steel and basically just print out a bunch of different parts. There was no way in hell I was going to be able to make a lootie in my apartment complex type of a thing. Like where I don't have a drill press, I don't have a CNC machine. I mean, I bet it would make it significantly easier to do everything like that. However, that's just not what I have. And that to me, I think is the most important thing of it. You can, you can have the best design out there. It can be the greatest thing out, but if no one can make it, it doesn't mean it. Like it's not that useful anymore.
Yeah,
Right,
you have to be
exactly.
able to actually make one for it to be the greatest thing.
Right. And that's it. It's just a very nice proof of concept, if anything. And to me, that's the nicest part. Like when you're describing making possible flats with this, well, that's amazing type of a thing. Like it's something that I think a lot of people have been. I think most people are asking for something brand new or something unique type of a thing. And usually, I guess the bigger things people want is like an actual handgun or like like an actual like full on DIY rifle, something like
ECM Glock slides right now. Hey
well,
man, where's the ECM Glock slide? Can you ECM a Glock slide
I
for
mean,
me?
Jeff,
Yeah, no problem.
you've been at this a lot longer. I'm assuming you must deal with it way more than anyone else type or out of here. Like someone basically telling you, "Oh, why don't you make this exact thing?"
Oh, I mean that's
Like
a
what's
lot of
the
people aren't makers, right? And they have the key word to watch out for is "oh just," or the key phrase is "oh just blank." Anyone who does that, you know, they have no idea what they're talking about in any field. Any like this applies to all of life. Oh, just blank.
oh yeah, just do that. Yeah,
Yeah, I should have thought of that.
yeah. I mean, as someone who's been on the outside, like I saw myself like I can see how they do it, but now knowing what I do, it's just like okay, like it's a lot easier said than done. Like specifically, like the bigger thing I always get for like an AR lower stuff is always like, well, why don't you just or why can't it just be exactly one for one the same size as this? Well, like it can't be.
Yeah, at that point you're splitting hairs, man.
Yeah, we're
Like
splitting.
it's printed. What do you want?
Well, it's like the
Yeah,
point of
I
it.
think people have their expectations
So,
way too high for this stuff.
I mean,
Like
specifically, yeah, for like
5 years ago, what would you have said?
yeah, no, for the AR lower. I mean, I don't, I don't expect. Oh, someone's echoing. Is that you, Zurad? Or is that Jeff? I'm not sure.
Oh, it's probably I'll mute. I turned my mic off and then it started echoing, and now it's really unhappy. Let me
Got the headphones on.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
mute for now. Hopefully, it won't keep beeping in your ear when I go on and off.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say so, like specifically for the AR lower. I mean, I don't really care that much if it's exactly one for one or if it's supposed to be the most, I guess, or the closest thing to what it needs to be. Like for me, it's a printed AR lower. I don't expect it to be military grade. I don't expect to be able to take it like into the deserts. Like I don't expect to go go a tour in Afghanistan with it. I
Yeah,
want it
can
to.
I shoot an AR? Can I load an AR mag in there and do a mag dump?
Well,
Right, like
what I like the most about like Spooky's AR specifically is the modular point of it of oh okay now I have one printed like everything's printed. I'm gonna go swap this on an AR9 upper. Okay, great. Let me just change out the mag weld and I don't have to reprint really anything. It's a very simple. It's doing something different that I guess you can't really do with a
Mhm.
traditional AR lower. You can't really just have one specific lower because like I guess when you compare it to an actual metal one, well, of course it's not going to be like you're not going to be able to match I guess metal's heat resistance with metal's durability, like impact strength type of a thing. But what can it do differently that a metal one can't do?
yeah, that's well, and okay, so that gets into like Zerad was talking about too, right? So this is the ARs that I mean they're interesting, but like
Right.
to yeah, it's a mixed bag because on one hand, like in the U.S., if you can get ARs, like stock up on ARs because they are
Well,
it's all done
Literally
for
just
you,
buy
man.
one.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's all done for you. But if you can't buy one, like okay, now how do we do a rifle from the ground up, like with 3D printing and DIY in mind, right?
And
That's a
that's the most important part. Like there ends up
yeah.
being this huge stagnation, and that's not to say that things like Macs have been blowing up recently, and there's been a ton of stuff going on with Macs. But it's like you still have to get those parts,
I
and those
mean,
parts are going to go away.
those parts
So
have been luckily saved because I guess I want to say what's it, Velocity, Math, and those guys. Like basically, they're those the Math like those Mac 11 uppers you're getting. Those are just because they're being made specifically because so many people like the Mac so well that
yeah,
there's
also shout out to 3D Print Freedom. I believe he's going to be machining some Mac uppers. He does some custom machining for ECM stuff for me on the side.
that's that is fantastic. I'm glad to hear that there are more people making Mac stuff. But like, yeah, what Jeff, like what you were saying specifically, like that's kind of the one thing I like, or I'm trying my best to do with my channel. Like, I don't want to do too much of like, oh, this is another Mac or an AR type of thing, because like it's really, yeah, like you have a perfect. That's literally the point. Like yeah, you can, if you can buy one, then I mean, yeah, great. You can really only do so much with an AR. You can only do so much with a Glock, really. Like,
That's kind of what like I realized. Like if you've been to SHOT or if you go to SHOT, that's one of the things you'll realize is like these are just a lot of ARs with more holes in different colors.
oh god, I went to Primary Arms Day, in which, so this is my first time. Like,
no.
so like I'm just this is the first time I ever owned a gun, like a year ago, so I'm very new to it. I was basically like a kid, like told in like the Ferrari dealership decided, hey, anyone, you can come in, you can just test drive everything here in this racetrack. Oh no, yeah, you're free to go. Just do whatever the hell you want. That was basically with me and like every single Gucci AR you could possibly imagine, like or no NFA or like everything's like the IWI people were just bringing in like Negevs for us to shoot. It was incredible. But like, yeah, everything there, because I was there with a Citizen Hush and 3D Print General, actually also Control Pew and Matt from Fudbusters. Those guys, so they've seen guns way more than I have, and they're just not nearly as interested. For me, it's like, oh my god, this is awesome. But like after a day, I like, yeah, this is just another AR. Okay, this is an AR with more holes in it. This is an AR that has cool like CS:GO colors. Okay, great. I just want to shoot the one that has like the fun full auto upper that or lower. I'll just take that.
Yeah, and that's like that ends up being a lot of the dev that happens. And again, like I don't mean to disparage anyone because I'm totally incapable of doing the nice aesthetics for CAD, but I can design actions, and I see very little of that happening. And the question is just why are we here? Why are we, just
Well,
no.
That's something
We're here to push the art.
That's like really why I wanted to talk to like you and I guess Jeff or I really, or for me, it's more of the unique design, something that's not really relying on something previous or on like frames or something like that, something that are full kits. I think we even had Chairman Juan here. I've heard him basically explain the reason why he does the Glock pretty much. It's just because he just knows it's like he can make the best frame for something that's like small or like a no name like pistol, like a surplus gun, and it just doesn't matter if it's gone. So why even like I want something that's going to be used by everyone. And
sure.
Like I mean, what he does is very nice. I mean, it definitely makes I like the way those Glocks look. I genuinely hate Glocks. I think they're ugly guns, but I like Chairman Juan's one. That's the only way I'm going to buy a Glock. But like
the only Glocks I have.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
But like, I mean, that to me specifically, what you're basically saying of there's not people that are trying to make unique stuff. What is going to be what's next? Something that's not an AR.
The next thing is probably going to be, and this is my guess, I think the next thing is going to be either a DIY delay action, DIY locked, and these would both be pistol caliber, or third thing would just be straight on to the DIY locked breech rifle cal.
So I'll throw this out there, and you'll probably appreciate this. Okay, so like this is the future, right? We're ECMing barrels. We're off grid with a lot of this stuff. One of the things that makes locking systems really hard is that they are intended to run themselves, and they don't have to do that. We can put motors on these things. We literally have lead screws. And like, you'll get a slower cyclic rate, but like, I think the electronic, the semi-auto is where it's at. Like
that makes so much sense.
Just go
holy shit, Jeff! I never thought of that.
Out the window. It doesn't matter. Yeah, dude, just put motors on it. Put motors on it.
You can get a car door,
it's slower, but
like $5.
Yeah. So okay. So I don't know. So AG, this is like I don't know if you appreciate this or not. Like, okay, so when I first got into this, I didn't really understand locking systems and all that, and how that worked and why it mattered and all that. So the first gun that I made was that where I proved to myself that I really do get this is that Barbie rifle. So it uses an AR barrel and an AR-15 bolt, right? Like And all it is, you take a barrel and you lock that bolt in there. You turn it, 22.5 degrees, and like that thing is locked up. That's a gun. Just you can tap on the back with a hammer and like it'll go off. Don't put your hand over the gas hole.
Right.
But like that's a gun, man. And so like the thing that makes that safe is that bolt is locked in there at that 22.5. Like those lugs hold it in there. That's the thing that makes it safe. And like the Barbie gun is just a bolt action. So like that's all a bolt action is. That's that same thing. It's just like you have to crank it open, pull the thing back, put a new round in there, and like do it all by hand, right? We've gotten to the point where semi-autos do it by gas because like they don't have motors and stuff. And if you're going to take one to war, like if it works on its own gas, so much the better. But like, if it's going to be parked mostly at the range or in the corner of your house, whatever, and not get used until it's needed, like you can keep batteries in that thing. And like you can literally take a lead screw off of one of these enders, right? And like now all of a sudden you have you have the system in place to have a semi-auto rifle super, super easy. You need a locking system to like keep it locked up, but you can now unlock that system electronically and not have to like have these high pressure gases you have to do something with, and like this super violent system that's just hauling ass. I'm going to turn the motor on and off it goes.
Theoretically, of course.
I mean, it's probably a lot easier than making a real locking system, like than doing like a delayed anything or like anything that works off of the cartridge itself. It'll be way easier to do an electronic one.
Literally just do an electronically actuated falling block, something like that,
Yeah.
And since it's not the fire control group itself that's being controlled electronically, I don't believe it would violate NFA rules or, be bad with the ATF.
No, I don't think so. I think, and like this is a bigger thing that like needs to be explored. There's a lot of mythology there, right, about what we can and can't do. I think there's a lot of mythology around like that. The electronic, firing system, like you as the that we know that word designer has magical properties. So if I designed it to be semi-auto, right, it's semi-auto only, and I put guards in there to keep you from making it full auto and blah blah blah, like I think that qualifies. And I don't know.
It's like an intent.
I'm more willing to send it and find out if, if they have a problem with it or not.
I mean, yeah, it's like an intent. I intended to make a pistol. I intentionally have a pistol brace on it for it to being a pistol, and I will not do anything. Now, if I want to have if I want to make it an NFA item, that's a different story altogether. Then it's a later thing. You can't go, I think, reverse wise.
Mm-hmm.
It's that type of like a fun thing of intent changes everything with the good old our good old friends.
I mean, that's why we
I
have.
would tend to agree with you on that, but I don't know. I don't know, dude. I don't think the ATF has rules anymore. Like they used to have a few rules, and now it's just out the window. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's a pile of self-contradictory blah blah blah.
I mean,
and like on one hand, part of me is I do see what they're doing. Like if you look at most of what ATF does, it's like, I don't know if you've ever been a DM or something and you got power gamers who are like, oh yeah, what if I did this? And you're like, shit, dude, I don't know. Like, so like part of it is I get it, because I've definitely had those players, right? But also these are my liberties that they're playing with, so screw them.
I mean, that's always the fun thing with a lot of the designs we have. I mean, specifically like here in the US, I mean, or like the Shuntee originally was, I mean, it's a closed bolt one. In the US, open bolts are not really. They're that one, like, open bolts are easier to make from what I remember, or at least, I mean, just thinking of practically.
There's things about them that are easier, yeah, but they exist in a legally gray to black area.
Right, yeah. I mean, you can, in theory, it should be easier. I think the original, the Ludi's also open bolt, and then like there's also the hybrid tube SMG, which is something that I've never actually seen anyone use it before, but that one looks unique. That one seems, it was like the Professor Parabellum stuff. That is it basically uses like the FGC9 lower with a Glock, uses Glock mags, but it's an open bolt.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Now, yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great way to take some difficulty out of a Ludi design.
Right.
It's all about removing the complexity for the person manufacturing it.
And that's, the Ludis are actually a good example of something that was manufactured from the ground up to to be right. Like, what is it, DFA or DFM?
EFM.
Yeah, like and right, he was working with restricted materials, and intentionally so. And yeah, like even which says something about like how far we've come and like what printing has done for us, right? Because that used to be it. Like that was the best gun you could make in your shop.
Yeah,
And
pretty much. And
no,
I think we're going to be surpassing that pretty soon. I mean, there's a lot of stuff just from having my feelers out in the different communities. There's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
in the pipeline.
Yep.
yeah. The nicest thing about the Ludi's one was it was not only was it just something like that, he also put out or he wrote documentation for it. He basically told everyone how to do it. It's kind of went or step by step of what you would possibly need to do.
Mhm.
And I think what was it like? I forgot how he eventually got caught in the end or something, but I think it was
He was going out to test. I guess he had it on him. He
Yeah.
was going out to test, and they grabbed him. But he
Yeah.
was like, in the same way like that I'm out here doing it with my own name. I think he was doing the same thing. So they weren't like, it wasn't like, oh hey,
Yeah.
a big surprise.
Yeah, it was. Oh, it's PA Ludi again doing that our full auto machine gun thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that or I mean that or I think also another thing too is definitely really or something I feel like a lot of people don't really focus on enough is probably like documentation. I mean, like Jeff, I'm not sure
100%.
Oh, man.
specifically on you. I think like Spooky too is explaining this to me, like for his Firebolt. Like I'm not sure if you've looked at his files or anything, but his manual there's a very detailed part on like calibration stuff, specifically kind of just because if you don't have the tolerances just right, you're going to have like issues of okay, the mags are going to come out perfectly, like that type of stuff where these are going to be questions that probably people will mess up, so you have to kind of preemptively guess it. You have to, you like Jeff. I'm assuming you must like you probably know all too well about how awful documentation can be.
So yes and no. So like that's part of the thing that that 12K has been like in development, not out there, and part of that is like the docs, right? Because I don't know. On one hand, when I first put the alpha out there was like nothing. There was no docs at all. I think that's mostly true. And then like the only people who built it, like launched OpenSCAD and like, okay, look at the assembly of the like, right? And like, yeah, some people can do that. But like the number of people who won't even download OpenSCAD and crack it open is really high.
That would be me.
Yeah, right. So like, yeah, if I can't just like, I don't know if you've seen the latest manual, but like I've taken it and now there's screenshots in there. There's like a description of like, here's how to build all these pieces. Like, oh, here's this piece you're building. And
the worst are just readmes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a big PDF manual now, and like it's taken a long like. I don't know. I think I released this in June, beginning of June, I want to say, and only now is it like, yeah, that manual's pretty solid, man.
I mean, like, because that to me, I think, is something that really can't be like, I guess, really like it's really forgotten. I think that's one of like the nicest things for like the FGC9 in particular. It has really useful like because I guess for like Glock issues, like what's the worst that happens with people that make Glocks? I think it's like binary fire or something. Like
You get runaways.
Yeah.
You could get failure to feeds. I mean, you get anything, but I think it's binary and runaways are the biggest things.
Because I mean, for like something like an FGC9, or I guess also kind of the Mod 9.2 to some, or a little, or I guess to a certain extent, like if you don't have head spacing right, then like for the ECM barrel, that's going to be an issue. You could either get out of batteries, you might get or failures to eject. I mean, if your firing pin's just a little too long out of spec, you can get primer bulges, or you can explode primers. That's happened a lot to me when I was trying to get the firing pin just right. It's if you're brand new and you have no idea what you're doing, this is the first thing you've ever done, and you have a primer explode on here. You have something like this. That is going to be I don't know. Like for me, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have like at least as detailed information saying, oh yeah, if this happens, chances are your issue is here. Maybe shorten your firing pin just a little bit.
Right.
That was the thing that got me to. That's what got steel to actually work on my gun or my first FGC9. Was okay, the firing pin was just long enough where I can shoot brass perfectly fine for some reason. But the moment I switch to the Winchester steel case like brown box thing, I will get no ejects. Everything will always just get stuck in. that's like
pretty
that.
interesting, actually. And
Yeah,
yeah, documentation is probably the most important thing you can do. And I mean, personally, I'm definitely guilty of bad docs. Like the thing I just released the other day, I made the docs in like 2 hours. Uh,
now
Yeah. So actually, like on that point, I'll give you a good example. ECM on point too. So like the ECM stuff had been out there for a long time before Ivan came along and made the tutorial. Like that is a big deal.
yeah, absolutely.
It's one thing to just throw stuff out there and be like, here it is, everyone. It's a whole other thing to be like, okay, and here, like, handhold someone through making it and doing it.
well, I mean,
Yeah,
like
and that's
yeah, like Jeff,
that's
like you.
my biggest
out-
thing about Ivan's thing. It's like knowing what I know about ECM and then reading through. I just read through it maybe 2 weeks ago, read his guide, and it's really well made. I mean,
Mhm.
Oh,
almost everything is correct there, and he takes safety pretty seriously. And I'm like,
yeah,
that's awesome.
as someone
Safety's a
who's
big deal with this.
as someone who does like chemistry stuff, like chemistry lab work, to me it was like I was reading like a lab report. Like it's kind of like an experiment. Like it's literally just almost as good as like an experiment like model. A type of like it just tells you
Hmm.
everything you need to do. Look ahead for this type of stuff. It's just super easy to follow. Like you
Mhm.
can, it tells you what to expect, what you should be looking for, that type of a thing. I mean, like, because for Jeff, when you told me specifically, like when I was mentioning it, or you're mentioning about ECM, and like, oh, there's all these other different things that I just didn't even know about. Like
Mhm.
or that to me, I think is I would have never known. Oh well, yeah, I guess yeah, of course I could make different like different calibers. I could make a 45 if I wanted to, but yeah, I didn't
Mhm.
realize there were files out there already. Yeah, that's right. Why didn't I think about that?
Mhm.
I think
Yeah, like the the generic like parametric any caliber you want ECM manual's been out there, right? But like not documented, not how to do it, none of that stuff.
the obvious one though is have you gotten the 16-inch barrel one?
No, I haven't played around with that too much, but I'll have to. I don't. Apparently, that's been trouble for people, but I'll have to give that a whirl and see if
There's a lot of
magic
people.
my way through it.
I mean, a lot of people have tried it. I mean, for me, I think what was it? I saw a couple of like things about it specifically was how it's like past 12 inches, it really is not useful for like 9mm, and it's kind of just a US thing of hey, I just want to put a stock on my gun.
Yeah, yeah, right. And then like you put a brace on it, right, and call it a day.
Well, have you
Yeah,
seen my favorites when you see like the like or Zankson's whatever how you pronounce it thing? He'll have the Netherlands ones, and like it will have they'll have the brace on it in like the Netherlands, where like it's like why? At
So
that,
I'm
literally why?
like, if
Because
I
it's
was,
already
I'm just
illegal there.
saying, if I was making illegal guns, illegal 9 mils, they would all be suppressed. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I would
Like if you're going to a PMITA prison anyway, like
it,
go ahead and make it quiet so no one hears you.
yeah.
Frankly, I gotta say, I disavow any and all law breaking, and I think that you should do whatever the government tells you to do.
Yeah,
And if you do break the law,
Well,
fuck
I mean,
you.
follow your local laws.
I think I have it on the. I think I have it on the description. Of course, that we're basically talking about. We're talking about our movie props. Really, that should be expected. Of
Yeah,
course, these
sure.
are very hyper realistic ones. Now, you I mean I would, of course, make sure you have all your guidelines ready. But this is basically all kind of just up in the air, smoke in the clouds. Really, we're not really.
I mean, there's a lot of places where some of the stuff is perfectly legal, and there's places like where it ain't. So
Well, I mean,
know
Yeah.
know if
And
you're breaking the
thankfully, I
law or
think
not.
all of
Be
us
yeah,
here
careful.
are in a legal area, so that's fine.
yeah. I just find I find the most just for me. I just every time I see some sort of like Netherlands like stock or release, I just chuckle if I see a brace. I'm like that. Who told them like it's not in the files? That's not there. They had
Right.
they went to like Thingiverse or something. Like
Yeah. Well,
even
that's the
I
thing. It
haven't
probably
seen.
looked cooler.
Yeah, did they see the PSR video once? Like, oh wait, I think I've seen that one. Oh, let me put that little brace on it. Okay, that looks cool. They don't even put the little like
I
they'll
mean, frankly, a lot of the stuff people get nabbed for is just because they're LARPing. I mean, you'll rarely ever hear of people committing crimes with 3D printed guns. They use the term ghost gun a lot, like especially in
Mhm.
that Maker's Match documentary. The
Jeff, you were
the
there, right?
journo guy, the journo uses ghost gun, so many crimes, whatever. But he's dude, they're literally just stolen guns with the serial numbers scratched off. Like 99% of them.
Yeah,
I mean-
let's be real about like where those guns come from. They're either like half and half, right? Are either stolen or they're straw purchases.
Well, I mean, it's the loophole of I build my own gun type of a thing. Okay, that's how dare you do that?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
this
you
is
can ask
a
permission
hobby for
from
nerds.
Yeah, that's my favorite out of all of it. Is it's the loophole of where you basically go ahead and I go slice the G code and I put everything assembled it like myself. It's
My
just
loophole is that I spend hundreds of hours trying to develop a skill.
yeah. I mean, it's gotten way easier. That's for sure. It's just kind of silly to assume that that's okay. That sure, yeah, it's a loophole, I guess. Whatever. I mean, when you think about it, literally anything's a loophole. Like
I mean, I think that's the key. It's
Pro
like, you
tip:
can have-
literally don't use your seatbelt. Pro
Like-
tip: close your eyes so you don't see the speed limit.
Well,
Loophole.
if he's, I mean, the thing is, I mean, you're a sovereign. I mean, like you are your own
I am
person,
a
right?
seafaring vessel in the
Yeah.
Corporation of the United States of America, and I
Your
will
rights.
drive drunk if I want to.
If you remember, whenever you're being pulled over, it's like a magical ward. You say, "Am I being detained?" And the officer has
That's
to
right.
immediately let you go.
That's
These are
right. Oh
these are-
shit! This guy's a seafaring vessel, and he is not to be detained.
yeah. That's. I mean, for me, I'll just say this because I mean, Jeff, you've been around guns longer. I'm not sure about you, Zurad. How long have you been around guns?
Oh yeah, I don't own guns.
I mean, the first one I've ever owned was the FGC 9. So that was a couple. Like,
Officially,
yeah, that was no, actually, no, not at all. I was raised very anti-gun. Like my family is not. They're not pro-gun at all. I thought it looked cool, and then I started learning more and more. The quickest, the quickest way you start learning, hey, this is stupid. I mean, my parents were never really strictly anti-gun, but when they started seeing like, oh, like even now, my dad, who just kind of watches mostly like mainstream media type of a thing, whenever they'll bring up the ghost gun things or the spooky loophole stuff, it's like, hey, wait, isn't that what you do? Haven't you done that? It's like, yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, it's like a criminal, like. He tries to. I can see him putting like the gears turning in his head of a. Yeah, I'm not imagining like in the streets of Chicago that's what you're seeing a bunch of 3D printed guns running around there. No, that's not the case usually.
Mutual combat.
Yeah, like it's usually just at that point if you're gonna go break the law like that, you're just gonna just buy a stolen one or something like that. Like it's just it's an unnecessary thing, and then you start putting those pieces together. Of wait a second, well. Okay, why can't I put a pistol? Like, why can't I put a stock on this thing? It's literally no different. Okay, it's a brace thing. Oh, that's stupid. Like, then for me, the first couple things were, why is an SBR? Why is it an SBR? I never. If you would have told me beforehand, oh well, you can conceal it. Like, I would have totally believed you. But having like the FGC 9, if I if I put a stock on that, that's now a short barrel rifle. Like knowing what I know now, it's stupid. That's just. Like these are laws that were made for like based off of movies. Same with suppressors.
Well, they're made a long time ago, right? Like when this is pre-internet law. There wasn't us around to ridicule it into obscurity or out of existence for.
Well, you would basically you would just hear things on TV and be like, well, that's probably the closest thing to reality. I guess that's probably right.
Well, I mean, have you just hear them speak about like suppressors? Like that's. Having shot a suppressor very recently, you realize, hey, it's like, okay, it's still loud, but like, I don't have to worry about my like. This is actually kind of nice. Like Jeff, I was telling
try a bolt action 22 with like subsonics and suppressor. Like that is actually quiet. Yeah, that's like sweet.
Like I was telling you this yesterday, Jeff, when I kind of spoke to you a little bit. I was like, I could, when I started to think about more and more suppressors like that. Yeah, wait, this isn't an assassin weapon. This is more of like, hey, if I were to ever like need to use my like gun for self defense in my house, that would be awful. Like
you don't want to blow your eardrums out.
Yeah, because for me, I have astigmatism, so I need to use glasses, or my red dots just it's just a giant smear. So like for me, it's really useful to find prism optics. But like if I'm going to be able to throw my glasses, like say a bump in the night, at that point, might as well put on hearing protection too, type of a thing. Like it's just
right.
These aren't things.
Ear pro on my like bump in the night gun. There's ear pro right there.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of something I've just like. Yeah, you don't really. I can completely understand why someone would want that. Like, you're still going to be loud, but dear God, like, the idea of shooting a 5.56 in like a small closed apartment, I mean, I
My
guess
gosh, yeah.
it'll be quiet
Dude,
afterwards.
there's nothing
It'll be silent
nothing like
forever.
indoors. So
Yeah.
I went and shot like an AR outdoors in the desert, right? There's nothing around. Like that was still like no one and done. I'm good. I'm gonna keep the rest of my hearing. Like, you
Right.
go indoors and it's a whole different ball game. Like
Oh,
it is really, really loud
I've
indoors.
been shooting this 13.7-inch AR with a Gamma V6 muzzle brake on it indoors, and it's brutal.
I mean,
It's absolutely brutal.
I only shoot like in indoor ranges, and at this point, I've learned, yeah, just double up your pro. That's just a
Yep.
better idea. Like outdoors, I was able, like when I was, thank God, the primary arms thing was outdoors, but like I've been in an indoor range where some like old SAS guys were like, oh, we're gonna go rent out the G or like the FAL, a
Mhm.
308 with like a muzzle brake on it. I just remember the feeling of it like reverberating in my stomach. Like, dear God, that is
Mhm.
it is a very loud thing. Guns are
Yeah.
much louder in person.
I went
I,
to school in North Philly for working on airplanes, so I was around like small turbines often. We would do run-ups on those, and people, like every single teacher at that school, had no hearing because they were around turbines for so long and they didn't use Ear Pro ever. And none of the students would put it on. And I'm standing there, I'm the only guy with headphones on. I'm like, what are you doing? You're like 22. You're going to lose all your hearing.
I mean,
too cool to hear.
well, I mean, it's just like a motorcycle. Why would I wear a helmet type of a thing? But like, yeah,
Right? You look like a nerd.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, I guess that's like that to me at least. For as someone, I forgot where originally this was. This was, I think it was something about fully like guess something for any idiot to do type of a thing. This like, I guess, just a very simple enough design with planning out for for the everyman type of a thing.
Hmm.
I just I really do I really do appreciate at least decent documentation for stuff like this, just because if someone that doesn't know anything, literally yeah, like this is all I can go off of type of a thing. For me, having to learn or seeing on like certain things like, hey, just don't do this thing if you live in the US. Like that's I totally would have just thrown a stock on everything and just taken it to my local range where I know there are police officers there.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's something that I really I'm glad at least people have told me, oh yeah, you don't do that. Like
Right.
I mean, like okay, yeah, it shall not comply, whatever type of a thing. There's one thing of like saying like, no, I'm not going to do this, to just being an idiot and like uploading a full video of like, oh, I'm just going to drop this Swift link in my gun and show everyone like, yeah, look at me, government, go ahead, come at me, type of a thing. Like yeah, like okay,
What we call inviting trouble.
like yeah, there's a difference
Yeah, there's a
between
difference there.
like I genuinely I wonder how many of it is just people just being stupid, or is it just like, yeah, this is a fact.
Both. Yes.
Like yeah,
Yes.
that's a good point. I mean, I I will say I do like the fact that at least or at least in the people that like for they're making guns like just designed for people that are brand new. Like I guess maybe Ivan really is kind of doing a lot like for ECM stuff for basic beginners type of a thing. At least it's nice to have good information just out there for the beginning, and then you can start working up your way to things.
Yeah.
I guess that's
And well, like one of the nice things is that the ECM stuff. Once you have like your constant current power supply, right? You're not going to like nuke everything just because you shorted something. Like that power supply can be used in all sorts of other stuff. Like and I don't know. I envision people having like full ECM like machine shops basically.
I mean, I personally think it's or the quicker I guess people start finding more applications for it, like specifically your CNC or lathe sort of a ECM drill. That to me, I think is so convenient. Just because, hey, if I could, let's say for like a firing pin hole, I don't have to drill that hole anymore. That would.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right.
That could be ECM like probably like done ECM instead tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I literally have like a whole bag of just abominations of broken drill bits, of someone didn't tell me the first hand, like, hey, by the way, when you're drilling a hole in steel, you want to pull it out every so often, or else you're just going to have metal filings there. So that took me like 4 DeWalt boxes. After I figured that out, that changed a lot. That being said, drills still get hot and they bend.
They're not super cheap either. Like good drill bits, like you're gonna spend some money on them, and if you like screw up a whole bunch of them, break a whole bunch of them, like you're gonna go through some dough in drill bits.
No, yeah, and if you were to like. I think I told some. I don't remember who. I don't know who I told this before, but it was basically like, someone asked me, "Hey, like, would you rather like do like a couple ECMs or bolt?" I'm like, no, definitely without a doubt. Doubt, I'll choose ECM over bolt. Like, I will make 5 ECM barrels over having to make another goddamn FGC9 bolt if I have to. Because bolts for me are if you don't have experience drilling through steel, you're gonna go through them very, very you're gonna mess up. If you've never done this before, you're gonna mess up.
It's like a 2.5-3 inch long hole, right? That's like, I don't know, a 3/16 or so.
Yeah. Well,
that's a good size hole.
3.5 mil.
Yeah. It's 5 mil or 5 millimeter or 50 millimeters, and it's a 1/8. If I want to say, if you don't want to buy the metric drill bit, you can do 1/8. Theoretically, of course, if you want to in Minecraft. But if you were to you need. It's never long. You'll never find a drill bit that's just long enough where you can just do one single pass. And then also, if your hand moves a little bit, you'll drill it at an angle, and then that changes a lot of other things. That part.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, no, that to me I find is just extremely nice. Now, I'm not sure
that other guy, Proletariat. He's been working really hard on a tool for boring out things that are not the 16 millimeter tubing, the explosion-proof tubing, and I'm not sure if it could be taken down to a smaller size. He's been doing some really great work, though.
I mean,
he's doing a printed tool, and like my own, like, it's cool, that works. I don't think that's the way to go. I think you're better off like go get some brass tube. That's what I'm using, brass tube, and you got to insulate yourself some way.
Right.
But go ahead.
His specific setup was, we were talking for a while about this. He initially brought the paper to me. It's based on a Chinese research paper that was trying to control the reaction, not through like pulsing or special chemicals or anything like that, but just through electrolyte management. Like, they didn't let the electrolyte hit on anything they didn't want to have. And that was a really fascinating idea. And what he's doing with the exit path for electrolyte, so it goes in, gets full of sludge, and then leaves through the other side. That's awesome. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but definitely check out the drill, the EM drill I've got on.
Oh no,
it's basically that, but instead of being printed, it's made out of brass tubing instead.
I mean, if
it has the exit.
Yeah. It comes out through the same tube. There's a tube in a tube. It's a series of tubes, you see.
Oh, okay.
And Jeff's Twitter is linked on the description below, in which you should be able to find everything from there. But yeah, that in particular, the ECM. Yeah, you should really look at the ECM lathe. It's very. I will really look forward to seeing how far that goes, just because, dear God.
Like, there's multiple. Okay, so there's right now I'm doing internal turning. Like, it's basically a CNC like lathe today. It's kind of the closest thing that I would call it. Right, I can turn the barrel to any position I want, 360 degrees, and I can go to any like lengthwise position I want, no problem. Right, so I have a CNC lathe as far as I'm concerned. Internal cutting only right now, but it can also do external. Like, it doesn't right now, but it could. And one of the things I have in mind is fluting. And the other thing that I have in mind is threading.
That would be really cool.
I want to thread barrels with ECM, and I think I can do external threads with ECM, maybe.
I mean, I was contemplating trying that myself. However, I realized if it's not like a very, very small break or something, like if you kind of if you're a little bit off timed and the bullet, you don't want it to hit the brake.
Yeah, well,
right.
it also got me thinking, like, okay, I might actually start doing some of my own Form 1. Like, I have all the stuff. I have a lathe. I have mills. I have a TIG welder. I have all these things. I'm like, maybe I just need to start filing some Form 1s. Like, get a stack of Form 1s, and I can start, like, oh, if I get a, if I get a or a baffle strike, it's not the worst thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
That's
that's where
where
$200 is way less than 1,400.
well, that's where you can,
Yeah, man.
you can
And
buy,
like, then it won't be like super sketchy to have like, oh yeah, I have spare baffles over there. I think that's a thing.
well,
Like,
I
oh
mean,
yeah, I made my own. Here's the Form 1 for it. Cool.
you can always, of course, get a Form 1 on a Hush Puppy, or or I think it's the Shush, or Hush Pushy, or what is the printed
Hush
one?
Puppy.
Shush
I'm
Puppy?
not sure what it's actually called. I
I
mean,
think
that's
it's
the
Shush
old name
Puppy.
for it. Shush
Yeah.
Puppy, yeah.
I want to say it's it's a play on one of those, but that's where that's one, or that's the one that you could also, or I think technically you could Form 1 it too. Now, whether or not it's the same printed one, the baffles are replaced. That's a good question.
I want to give that a whirl with. I think it'd be interesting to try with the Maglite thing. I think you could basically take that same like the printed like principle, and instead of like going and buying the custom threaded whatever end caps for the thing, you just print them and like you can ECM or not ECM but epoxy on the end caps, and you can use like metal inserts if you want. You could probably just thread it into plastic.
Wasn't that the thing? Like, didn't someone sell like basically like a Napa filter like attachment thing?
Yeah.
I mean, I want to
Those are out
say,
there.
well, yeah, I think the only issue is that Napa stopped selling those specifically because I think at that point, yeah, they were like, well, okay, this is too good for that.
Well,
But-
and then like that's where I'm interested in things like, okay, well, you don't have to have a Napa filter. Like that was just convenient because it had the same thread, right? But like, shit, if you're 3D printing it, like just get any old tube, like like really a great thing would be just that conduit. Conduit would probably work fine, or like that fence post stuff. A lot of that would probably actually do okay before it was actually a problem. Like those things, if it'll work with plastic, it'll definitely work with like conduit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Sim
And some
Supreme
people were
right-
actually throwing around the idea of the fence post thing a bit earlier tonight. To take the solvent trap kit out of the equation for the FGC 9SD. We're
Yeah.
talking about using something similar to like the thump and grind tubing.
yeah, I mean, someone right
like,
here. I just want
It
to
should
mention.
be easy to do an integral like suppressor for the FGC9. Like all of those, if you want a can on it, right, you should be able to have an integral can on those. I think pretty easily.
Well,
It just hasn't been done yet.
The integral I mean, when you say that, do you mean just basically like a full, or how so? Just make it the barrel of integral one.
So like the easy way, I think, like I'm not a suppressor designer, right? But like I would extend the barrel. I would drill ports in it along the barrel. You put your baffles in there also. And then you got to have it either secured at the front somehow. And like you could use like regular, off the shelf threaded components potentially to like epoxy in there or get.
I mean, the simplest way to do it is probably to, like the FGC 9SD, do something like that where you have the ported barrel at the base and the ports are within the grooves of the rifling, so you don't get a whole bunch of lead gunked up in there.
Mhm.
And then outside at the end of the barrel, you have a long ported section. It could be anything, it could be aluminum tubing, whatever. And you just jam that thing full of steel wool and epoxy cap on the end of it. And it's going to be a shitty suppressor, but it will function as one.
Yeah, sure.
Theoretically
I mean,
speaking,
anything is
Oh, I mean,
good, right?
when you're legally permitted to, Form 1 it. Yeah. Okay, don't break the laws.
I see someone that mentioned something, but what's the regulated part of the suppressor? And I think Mr. Snow gave a good answer of depends on the agent that arrests you.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Snow. For real.
If you do Form 1 it's kind of up to you when you Form 1. Like, so there are suppressors out there that are literally just like thread adapter caps. Like there's for the oil filters, right? They're just thread adapters, and like they take that, they call it a suppressor, they put the serial number on there, and boom, that thing is now the suppressor.
Yep.
So it's in a sense it is up to the agents, but also it's kind of it's up to the designer too. Like, oh yeah, this is a suppressor. Like, okay, I registered a suppressor, and like
if they accept your Form 1, that's the most important thing.
also
Yeah,
your
I have a
intent.
stamp, and there's a matching serial number here. What do you want?
Yeah, I mean, I just, for me, I just realized, like, yeah, at some point, I think, oh God, I remember I heard something. It was like, if you buy it and like the agents go knocking on your door, well, first off, never speak to anyone, like, unless you
Yeah.
have a lawyer. That's, of course, that's the only thing I will tell you as a legal advice thing is just don't talk to
Get a
agents unless
lawyer.
you need
That's
to.
that's my legal advice. Shut up.
Shut up, or
Yeah.
you really just use a lawyer if you, or however you can. But yeah, if you like were to, if you're an idiot and you mentioned, oh well, I was gonna make a suppressor out of a type of a thing, then you're like doing the whole my intent type of a thing,
Yeah.
and that's the whole fun part of okay, just shut up and just yeah,
Yeah, just
don't
don't talk to the cops.
don't talk about it. Don't make posts about how oh yeah, I'm gonna do this type of a thing. Don't give everyone a probable cause about that type of stuff. But
Yeah, I mean, my intent is to comply. That's what I want to do. I am the complier. I will file all my paperwork and I
for
do
me,
everything right.
when I was just cleaning out the barrel, like for ECM stuff, if only I just so much brake cleaner was just pouring out. If only I just had something to attach to the end of it that could collect it. Like someone
Well,
mentioned that in my
speaking of
video, and I am just upset that I did not make that joke. That is just oh my! You don't get. That was almost like I need to just take down the video. I need to do that. Like no,
just delete your channel.
You're
It's
like
over.
delete the
You missed
video,
your chance.
delete the video, re-upload it before anyone notices, and then good job. I did the joke. I did
There
it.
you go.
But no,
But
yeah,
speaking of cleaning the barrel, I've been and going back to the ECM thing, I've been using citric acid doped electrolyte. So that just like you
Mhm.
mix up your regular electrolyte and you put in about 10% by weight, like for salt of
Mhm.
citric acid salt. And it does a fantastic job of reducing sludge and cleaning the metal, preventing rust, etc. It is awesome.
I,
Forbidden Mountain Dew.
I,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, God,
Yeah, it makes it bright green.
well,
Yep.
for me, I've been wondering what's the better idea for cleaning printed guns, more or less for anything, just because I never know what to do with it. It just kind of,
I mean, I don't know, like keep it oiled, right? Like that's the big thing is keep it from rusting. But other than that, like send it, man.
yeah, no, that's kind of how, yeah, my FGC9 is just kind of just caked with just, it's fine. It doesn't need, I don't care too much. I'm not going to run at like
Oh yeah,
acetone.
like all the insides, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
have to think about it like, I don't, it's not never been a problem, I'll say
Melt and
that.
reprint. Yeah, send it until it won't send anymore, and just make another one.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
That's,
think
Sell it at a
the
gun buyback.
yeah.
that's the accepted method there. I mean, otherwise, use something like Bow Lube, like a Teflon based plastic lubricant.
Yeah, no, that's nice. And then, or yeah, I guess, yeah, Melton. I do like the
Jeff,
live
you're
free or
echoing again.
live free or die
mute.
do paperwork. That's cute. That made me chuckle a little bit. But I was
paperwork.
yeah, I was gonna at least say something though because yeah, you're mentioning all these other fun designs and everything, that SD and stuff. Really, I'm curious to see on how all of those go in the end. Really, the stuff that I'm most interested are the things that are actually going to be easy to do because I've had a couple people I know specifically that are trying to work on some other things. I know I have a couple people. Mr. J Meza, he bought a Mod 9 kit off of my recommendation for that, and he's been trying to do
Yeah.
that. And then also, Alan Christoph, I think Teddy is here. Something that's his name. He bought a Mod 9 V3 kit. Those stuff
Nice.
are well. The issue with those are they've had a lot of trouble trying to get it set up.
Yeah, the documentation on the Mod 9 V3 and the Mod 9 V2 are less
Well-
than stellar, but I was talking to Musi earlier, and he specifically said, like, listen, I don't want you to build this thing if you can't figure it out. Like, I don't think you should have it if you can't figure it out. And
Well,
honestly, I can respect that.
I mean, to some extent,
Yeah.
I
You gotta be this tall to ride this ride, man.
Exactly.
That's a thing that, like, when you're deving stuff, you like. I'm sorry if you can't figure it out. Like, you're not ready for the project this time. Come back later.
Well, the challenge is the ejector part. The ejector on the V3 is just I don't get it.
I'd have to look at the files again.
I know that people I think there's a full like dedicated channel on there that's people trying to just figure out how to do their own ejector. That part's hard. The V2 on the other hand, that's simple. That's just that one has
Well,
that one
yeah,
goes.
I mean, an ejector, just use a piece of sheet metal, right?
Well, getting it consistent, though, is the other part. Now, the only person I know that has it, what is the Cobra 9, from what I've heard, has a better one. I just don't know. The only person that would know is Mr. Snow, I feel like, and Durwood
I think
himself.
they need some consistent CNC sheet metal thread.
Yeah, something like that, right? Like a
If
well
only there was a
validated,
way.
consistent way to do it on your desktop silently for almost no money. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be great.
that'd be crazy.
Yeah, no.
Man, if
What
only
if
you could
someone?
find the answer.
Yeah, if only someone could come up with a good ejector. Yeah, well, still, that's
Hit the
challenge.
subscribe button, hit the bell
Yeah,
icon, make sure you're here, guys.
exactly. That's the good part. It's that you're thinking with your head. Okay, yeah, but I that for me, that to me, I just because I really kind of want to at least make, if anything, the most important part. I feel like for at least the big thing for DIY stuff is good documentation is also something really important to some extent. That's also kind of why I'm glad, Jeff, you're doing the break action one, just because that one just seems easier.
It
I feel
is. It really is. It's like people literally made it basically without any docs at all, right? In like metric, which it was never really intended to be. Like those are the first repros were in metric. Like really? Okay, cool. Yeah,
Awesome.
sure.
like, because to me, I think the challenge with some of the stuff is like it actually is just kind of hard. Like it's just, I mean, trying to explain exactly how you're going to do the cylinders. Like you were basically saying that, you can't just shove it in. You can't just shove the pipes
Nope.
in there. It's just
Nope.
not going to work.
I
Like-
tried like to make it not be that way, but like it just turns out, that's actually a good way that like, I don't know, the way I think about it is you start with like, what's the least I can get away with? And then build up from there.
Right.
Like, okay, now, that tech tree, right? Like, oh, okay, like, can you build this at tech level 1 where all you have is a hacksaw and like maybe a grinder? Nope, you can't. Sorry. Like, okay, what about 2 and 3 where you have like, okay, now you have a TIG and you have a lathe, you have like a mill, like, this is the kind of stuff that Mr. Snow there could crank out no problem, right? Like, but you in an apartment, yeah, not necessarily. Like, I've definitely been there. Like, you don't have, there's a time I didn't have a lot of tools, right? Like some of these things, like my TIG cost me like, I don't know, $2,500. Like you don't just stack those up like it's no big deal. Like it's a lot of capital.
I mean,
another part comes in when you're like, say you're in an apartment like you are AGcast.
you just call me AG. It's all good. That's
AG. All right. But like you're in an apartment like that. Angle grinders fall off the back of trucks all the time, but your neighbors might not like you using one in your apartment.
Yeah.
right. No, yeah, that trust me. Yeah, you wait for a rainy day and thunder, and then you can usually get away with it. Play some loud music as well. Speaking from experience, there, like I do, because I got a very upset like message once from someone, because I think I told someone like, look, if you've never done this before, if you don't know what you're doing, just make an FGC 9. Then if you can do that, you can try doing it like a mod 9. Like just know that's if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna like it's a better gun, I'll say that, but it's like if you don't know what you're doing, you'll have a lot harder of a time. And
I do hope that I can claim that title though, the new easiest gun.
well,
There you
Because
go.
I don't have any like welding, like the break action, right? I don't have any welding or whatever. It's only a single shot, but man,
because I mean, I saw when Mr. Snow said something about how he was talking about the Cobra 9 bolt. He said the ejector is really easy, but the bolt is really hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like the mod 9 bolt is still doable, I want to say, as like a normal person, but like the V3, I don't think I've seen any real. Like, there's a couple of them out there, but I haven't really seen them because it's just harder. The people I've spoken to said it's just a lot harder, and that's. I mean, if you have no experience of what you're doing and you're trying to get this, if you're for just like people that understand gun design, people that understand engineering stuff, that's going to be easier for you. But if you have no knowledge whatsoever, you're brand new to it, you're just going into it, you're going to suffer.
I think
Sure.
there's a good like road there, or like maybe it's not like well paved yet, right? But there's going to be a pathway for people who are brand spanking new, and depending on what access to tools they have and stuff like that, it's going to be like, okay, can you buy Glock parts? Okay, yeah, go ahead and print a Glock, no problem.
Well, yeah.
If you can't,
There should be
like,
a path for everyone at some point. And I think what you're seeing from Musi and Durwood is an evolution of two designers who are really pretty serious about what they're doing, and they're moving into trying to get some type of modest return for the thousands and thousands of hours and thousands of dollars that they've been putting into this.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, I mean, like, I think that should be. I mean, Durwood's work is just incredible. Like, I by no means, like, is this any sort of dig at like what he's like anything what he's doing? No, of course, like
Right.
he's been pushing things really far. I mean, the Mod 9 in of itself is just it's incredible with how what they were able to do with it. It's a lot more of a smaller form factor and everything. No buffer tube. It's a very nice gun. Like,
I like my own 2 cents. Like I think the biggest reason to support like the people who are designing new stuff is so like I would love to do this full time, man. But like it doesn't pay the bills yet. Like
Right.
I would love to sit around and make like new gun designs all day long. But until I'm making enough money from selling kits or whatever, like
well, you see, that's where you can do like YouTube stuff on like the side and just get nice ad revenue.
sort of, yeah. Yeah, that's just one day, right? There's like me in particular. Like it's one thing if you're just like making the the designs that people have out there, but like the people who are creating new designs, they're gonna come after us, man.
Oh no, yeah,
Oh,
without it.
ASAP.
Yeah, Vin's been getting like I know for a fact like every time he tries to do anything, like a payment processor will just stop it.
Yeah,
Like he's tried.
I'm not even so right now. Like I don't know how the guys doing kits are doing it. Like I'm sure there are friendly payment processors out there. Like there are gun companies that have payment processors that haven't kicked them off yet. But
Yeah.
like even legit gun companies got run out of a lot of their banks and stuff.
No, the chains are tightening for real, and
Yeah.
it's not going to get any easier in the next few years. So I hope you guys are familiar with like privacy coins and stuff like that.
Well,
yeah,
I
like
mean-
I'm only like right now I'm only taking payments with crypto.
Good. You take
And,
Monero.
like, it's just I'll do both. Yeah.
Good.
It's just future proofing, man. Like they're going to cut us off one.
Dude,
So,
you're
like-
gonna eat bugs and you're gonna be
Well-
fucking happy.
Yeah, you're
End
gonna
of
eat
story.
bugs.
You're gonna
to
live
be
in the
fair, I
pod.
was looking at eating bugs before it was cool. Like
Yeah, but now I don't want to because you're telling me to.
Well,
Yeah,
guys,
right?
print
Like,
two,
fuck
print your
you.
2As also in the chat as well, and he's basically saying, yeah, "My first payment processor dropped me."
Yeah.
I completely believe that. To me that's kind of I think that's going to be the next way they were to if you can't ban the ghost guns, well, what were to be, what happens if all the payment processors just kind of agree, what if we just don't work with them?
Yep.
Well, dude, you can see
Like,
it's already happening
mean,
politically to people. Like
Well-
there's people who were, at some certain event a few months ago and they may not have even gone into a building they shouldn't have gone into, but they had over $500,000.
Are you
seized by the
questioning
feds.
the YouTube? Are you questioning something that you shouldn't be questioning? Because I know
No,
exactly.
no, I'm
Careful,
not.
this is not your channel, okay? I know how you get taken down quickly. You talk about things like that. As we all
I was
know,
very
everyone
vague,
loves
and
our
also
good.
I believe everything.
Yeah,
It was the
everyone.
worst one ever. That's all I can say.
It was the most
right?
fairest election ever, and I really am happy about all of it. And I can't
Fairest
wait.
what? Dude, I don't even know what you're talking about now.
Good.
This is so out of
Good. That's the right
context.
answer. The next, but yeah, no. If you, I like the idea. Like, yeah, Jeff, that's a good idea. For like, I don't know how. I guess the next challenge would be, Coinbase and exchanging it. Because that,
I mean, yeah,
Why
no,
exchange it?
yeah. Well, I mean,
if you want to pay tax, yeah.
realistically, buying raw stock, right? Yeah, the people that I buy metals from, they don't take Bitcoin.
They're not
Right.
that. They're not that.
They
Yeah.
take Uncle
Give it
Sam
a few
bucks.
more months. Let
Yeah,
the U.S.
yeah.
dollar keep doing its thing, and they will.
Yep.
I only set payments in gold bullions. Okay, you better
Maybe
shape.
Jeff sent in an email telling
for-
how to use it.
Bullets have done better than gold in the past couple of years. For
Don't
what
worry.
that's worth. Like my gold has not done as well as my lead has.
I could.
Yeah, I mean, gold's just not fungible. Lead is very fungible.
Don't worry,
Um,
I'm well aware. You can't eat gold, but
5.56 is extremely fungible.
see,
Everyone wants it.
I have played Metro Last Light. I know I see what could possibly be done. That's my ideal, I guess, post-apocalyptic like currency. People are paying things with bullets.
Hey, it's still
I
good.
mean, ballistic wampum, right?
Well, I mean, it's just such a simple exchange of currency. I mean, now it also makes you really makes you think every time you want to use your gun in the game. But still, Like it's in.
Yes, it
I
does. Well, I
like
mean, these days in particular, it's just like that, right? Like if you're shooting 5.56, you're like, blam, blam, there was a buck, blam, blam, there was a buck.
well, especially with AK shit too now. All the
Like
Solution, just
that could have
don't
gone into a
bore.
stripper's like, panties instead. It's going down range. So
well, I mean,
choose your shots carefully, man.
well, no, yeah, that's definitely. I almost bought a reloading like rig before. I was like, oh god, but then I also realized like I don't know what I'm doing. I probably should. This is if there's a way I'm gonna blow up a gun in my hands, it's gonna be through this.
Pissing hot loads.
Like, yeah, I'm not. I don't have the right gear for that, and I'm not gonna do. Like, that's the way I'm gonna fuck up. Like, that's the way I'm gonna blow shit up is by doing a reload. But if you know what you're doing, yeah, that's not a terrible investment in all honesty. But still,
Double on meat in the chat says my payment processor runs on a video card in the closet. That's awesome.
That's incredible. Yeah. Also, Double O Meat. I know he also is working on the Assault Dolphin. I'm not sure if you've seen that, Jeff.
The Assault Dolphin, I have not.
It looks like, I think the way I could describe it is it's almost like a P90, but it's like the bolt is. It's a unique bolt. Like I'm trying to describe. It's meant to be really easy to be made. Like it's like I think the bolt like you fill it in with something and like it's basically everything is not regulated. Essentially, it's basically going to be as much printed as possible. I think they even use like an ECM barrel. Like it's one of the more unique designs out there. Definitely.
The what dolphin?
Yeah, it's an Assault Dolphin. Double O Meat, and I want to say that Tom Hicks on Twitter. He's also on. If you go to the Deterrent Suspense or like the Rocket Chat, it's on beta currently. It's one of the more unique looking ones. I'll definitely say that.
I'll just mention if you Google Assault Dolphin, I guess this is DuckDuckGo, but you get a lot of dolphin rape.
Yeah, see, that was the joke. I think that Tim Hicks was saying was he wanted to call it something like the MLP. Basically, he wanted it to show up as if you were a Fed and you Google searched it, you get some weird things that come up.
Yandex gives me just a bunch of dolphins with bombs strapped to them, like actually. So I don't know. And Star Fox.
Someone's going to come out with the Lemon Party, SMG or something like that.
Yeah,
enjoy, fuckers.
Yeah, that would be. It's a double-edged sword though, because when if someone that doesn't know what they're doing, they just Google search shit and they're like, oh, okay. You'll mess with the feds, yes, but you're also gonna just turn away a lot of people of, oh, let me go quickly do that.
Yeah.
Hey, if you can,
I was looking at a design.
Yeah. If you
recently,
can't look at that, you probably shouldn't.
Go ahead.
You shouldn't have weapons, right? Like if you're going to be sketched out by that too much, like maybe shooting someone's really not in your blood.
Well, you're completely. If you can't handle the visual novel playing in the background, then you can't handle the channel. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, it's a visual novel. I was going to ask what game is this.
It's a visual novel that I played on Twitch because I was bored, and I knew that I was going to use this as the background for while I talked.
What kind of Doki Doki ripoff am I looking at here?
Don't you dare say that. But the point, Jeff, that's I to some extent that's a good point too. But
I was playing around with some names for stuff recently, and we were workshopping stuff over in Are We Cool Yet? And the name that we settled on for the one thing I'm working on was just 7 spaces in a row -9. So it has to get indexed as space, 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 space.
That's just, I mean, at that point, you're better off putting like a Cyrillic character in there just to fuck with people too.
Oh god!
Because like you just, let me go to Wikipedia quickly and copy and paste that. I don't have that on my keyboard.
Drop table /9.
Yeah, use some Greek in there or an emoji. Actually, let's do that. Yeah, like the name of the gun is an emoji. It's like the shopping cart. Or it's
the laughing emoji.
Crying laughing emoji.
I want the crying laugh one. I want that one. It needs to be. You can't see it on Unicode, and it's just gonna be fun. Like, how are you gonna type that up quickly? I don't even have an emoji key on my I don't know how you Google search that actually.
You gotta go find it and copy it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, like at least Twitter, or Google, or like YouTube, it gives you the nice little pop-up thing. But yeah. We're roughly around like 2.5 hours about. So also, I want to say this too. Apparently, when you hit 2 hours in a live stream, you can just swear whatever the hell you want. Apparently, Google just stops caring. They monetize.
Oh,
Yeah.
should I have not done that?
Oh, don't worry. Yeah, we're past 2 hours. You can just say fuck however you want. But I guess we could start wrapping it up if anything. So
Yeah, is there questions people have or anything like that? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of have a last couple questions I want to ask too, but that's a good point as well. Let's see what if anyone really kind of has anything or anyone said anything that's going to make me
Last
laugh.
chance for questions.
But yeah, if anyone wants to ask anything specifically, I would
3F Doki Doki illiterate group. Very funny.
But I mean, I guess the easiest question for you, Jeff, is so let's say that when you're done with the Liberator, the Liberator 12K, you pretty much what's gonna be your focus then next, or
what's next? So like, 12K is gonna continue. Like it is an umbrella, project. Like it's like Ruger. Like they're not done being Ruger because the 1022 is done, right? Like that's kind of what I'm hoping. Platform guns. So like there's coming like already there is break action. There is the revolver's probably going to come out. There's the flare launcher. There's something else. I'll mention now that like, yeah, sure. If you're hanging around 2 hours podcast, you get to learn there's going to be a belt fed 12K.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I already test fired it like a couple days ago, and it's like mostly working. So that's going to be a thing.
Okay.
And like in California, you can't have a revolving shotgun, but I don't think they have anything in the law about belt-fed shotguns.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
You can't. Is there? I mean, I guess there's not really many.
They've specifically named revolving shotguns, and I'm sure it was like the street sweepers and whatnot. They were going after jackhammers and blah blah blah. But like, I'm gonna say this is a California loophole. I didn't foresee the belt-fed shotgun coming. Expects it.
Well, is it a fire? Can you make it somehow a firearm or no? What is it?
Yeah.
Oh God. Do you know what is it? Is it like any other weapon, or it's not any other weapon? It's an other.
Yeah, it's a firearm is what it's called.
Yep, just firearm.
Well, it's not even that. It was for I think it was a Cali like Franklin Armory. They had their weird Title I thing of it's not a firearm because it has certain things. It's like
California's its own weird.
Well, yeah, they had it, or I think they had to do a bunch of funny shit to it that made it like it's like a rifle length, but it has a pistol barrel, but it also has a detachable magazine. So all these, essentially, it was an other where they didn't have a category for it.
Yeah, like that's what how like AOW shotguns, not AOW, like the not AOW, not a short barrel shotgun. The only like it's not crazy. It's pretty easy actually. It's just has to be over 26 inches OAL. Otherwise, it's AOW concealable. They say, and it like that's the big one. And then you can have a barrel under 18 inches, like federally blah blah blah. Caveats apply. But 26 inches OAL. So like you basically get to use a lot of this. It can't be a stock because as soon as you put it as a shoulder stock, it's now a shotgun. But like if you have a brace on it or whatever, you can use the brace's length as part of the length of the. So like yeah, PGO, yeah. It's I don't know, like they have them for the shockwave and that kind of thing, right? It's okay. The 12K can be configured that way. Like you just don't put a butt pad on it, right? And like okay, now I didn't intend to fire it from the shoulder, like it's not a shotgun. You could do that, but. I'm probably going to come to a place where it's a bullpup shotgun instead. Like the weird crazy idea I have is a break action bullpup, and like the whole thing will be 26 inches OAL, but it'll be really tiny. Yeah,
I love it.
All the things.
That's beautiful. I like the idea of it. Although a bullpup revolver type of a thing sounds like a scary idea.
Not a revolver. The break action.
Oh, okay,
the revolver would still be very spicy in your face.
Yeah.
So you're talking a break action and also belt fed still, or
yeah, both. So like the big thing for the 12K is I have a fixed recoil plate, right? So like instead of having a moving bolt, it's like okay, now all the rounds have to move past this fixed recoil plate. And so the revolver does that. The break action does that. A pepper box would do that. A belt fed. So like the belt fed I have is a reverse pump belt fed.
Okay.
So like that's where that like all my guns are gonna be like reverse pump things, right? Because I have a fixed recoil plate. And like yeah, I've totally got a pump belt fed now that like pretty much works. And it's like it's way simpler than the revolver. Like
I was
the
about to
revolver,
say.
like if I was gonna sell someone a revolver, it would seriously cost me like it would cost like probably $500 if I was gonna. Just because it takes a lot of handwork, like there's a lot of TIG welding and blah 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 bullshit, and like you have extra tube, like you literally have an extra barrel's worth of tube there, and then you have to like cut it up into 6 pieces, and you have to weld it together, and you have to like turn it flat and all that jazz. The this belt fed craziness, you just have your normal barrel and you slip it back into the belt link, you fire it, you pull it out, the round stays in the belt link, and off
that
you go to
makes
the next
sense.
round.
Oh, dude, that's freaking simple as hell.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
like what I think
it's super simple. And here's the great part: the belt links. Do you know what a Ranger band is?
I think I kind of know.
Sound good? I don't know.
It sounds like
So like they're kind of a survival thing, right? So like it's just a piece of like bicycle inner tube cut in like in a ring, like calamari, and it's just a rubber band, but it's vulcanized.
that sounds
Okay.
that sounds really simple.
Those are like have these pedals holding onto the shotgun shells, and like they're just held on by Ranger bands front and back, and then like you reverse pump the thing, shoot it, extractor holds it in place, and the barrel slides out, and then off you go to the next round. It does have a little zigzag in there. It has a tiny little.
Well, yeah, because for me, I was thinking about the links are usually the challenging part, or it's kind of a pain in the ass for some of them.
Yep. But you have a 3D printer. You have options.
Well, that is a fantastic point when you think about it. But
let me see. I'll drop a photo on here. I've told a few people, not a lot of people have actually heard.
Well, then this is an exclusive, guys. Good job for lasting this long.
It is an exclusive. Yeah. So if you're hanging around till the end of the end of the show, my upload's going to suck here, but I'm going to send it into chat. Or should I send it to you?
Just send it to me, then I can just open it on stream.
There you go. Yeah.
Let me see if I can.
All right. It's coming. My internet's going to suck for a minute.
Don't worry, my computer is just
like 1 meg up.
My computer's running on fumes. Although luckily my internet's like 99 down, 99 up. So we're good on that part.
I didn't
appreciate. Says, can you tell? Jeff
I didn't appreciate
that
how
from me.
crappy internet.
So you've got a big fan out there, dude.
Wait, what? Are there any gas-operated delayed blowback designs coming down the pipe? So, well, oh god, yeah, okay, I need to show this. When you say delayed blowback,
so hang on, Snow, before you take off.
Yeah, delayed blowback is there's Darwood's Cobra 9 that is a delayed blowback. I'm pretty sure, it's a delayed blowback design.
No, it's not. It's
something weird.
It's not delayed blowback. They're calling it deleted blowback. It's a proprietary recoil attenuation thing.
Silly me.
They're basically they're like metering the speed of the bolt as it cycles, and in doing so, they're drastically reducing the amount of recoil. But from what I've heard, it's not a true delayed blowback.
That's the closest thing. From what I've heard as to a delayed blowback. I never understood. I remember. I don't know it because I'm not the one. I haven't made one myself.
Oh my god!
But
Jeff,
this is the image of what Jeff has sent me. This is what a belt-fed 12 gauge shotgun looks like. And oh my god, Jeff, for the love of God, if you can help me make one of these, please God, I need this. I want
can make that happen, and it'll probably be around the same price as the Cafe 12 because there's actually less tubing I have to give you.
See, just look at this beauty. I want everyone. We just need to appreciate this.
Wow.
So okay. Let's unpack what we're. Let's just unpack this. Those links are those. Is that the Ranger band?
No, so those are printed links, and then each of those links has 3 pedals in there holding onto a shotgun shell. You can see 2 of them from this angle. 3 pedals holding it centered, and the Ranger bands, if you zoom in, maybe you can see it. They're the little black bands that go around it. You can see it just on either side of the main central link body.
Wow. So yeah, this reliably. Or so has this been working reliably, or how often have you shot this?
I'm gonna send you another one right now.
You
Okay.
couldn't think of a more complicated way to hold the shell.
Wow.
That reverse pump thing, man. That yeah.
That is, I mean, this is just
So my
beautiful.
connection can go to garbage while I'm uploading.
Okay, let me switch or see if you sent it yet.
Biruda's asking, does the belt actually cycle by itself? And no, it's going to be a pump design, so you're going to have to pump it.
No, it's a pump.
So that
That one's actually kind of an older picture. I'm seeing something newer.
can we get a
Kroger
quick?
27 wants a
Let's look.
rundown of the deleted back, and no, you cannot
I was
because
gonna.
they have not revealed how it works.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say I didn't even know what it was called. I just know that it was. I just know. I think the term delayed was being thrown around a lot. I just again, it is the really the only people I would know that actually own one or a Cobra 9 is Durwood and Mr. Snow. And Mr. Snow has been very, or he's not been telling anyone anything about it besides it looks really cool.
Yeah, and I've spoken to a few people who've shot them.
So I have one round that
But no, okay, but we just need to take a look at this image for a second. Now, what the hell are these spent shells?
What you're talking
those are
about?
the
So
pedals. You can see,
those,
yeah. So those are
those
that was a
spread open.
test I put through it. Yeah. So like as you push the barrel back onto it, those pedals spread open and center
Amazing.
the shell, and like they just pop right into the barrel, right? And you can see the extractor there at the back of that green thing. It's just a little metal tab that holds them on the way out.
That's great. So those pedals will expand and the barrel goes inside of the pedals, and then as the barrel moves away, they just close back up around the shell again.
Wow,
They close back up around the shell, and the shell just slides out of the way.
Fantastic.
this is okay.
Right.
I'm,
Dude. So like this already, this is going to cost way less than the revolver. It's going to be better. So like this is the thing. Like, okay, I've been working on this quietly for a while. The revolver, like you had to weld a bunch of stuff. You don't have to weld anything. You just print a bunch of stuff and go get like a 700C bicycle inner tube and cut calamari out of it.
No, yeah, I was about to just say like this is, or yeah, like when I'm looking at this is just so much more simpler. I mean, I guess the only challenge is
it doesn't exist yet, but there's going to be a box for it. And this is
Good,
when I was
gonna
talking
ask.
earlier. When I was talking earlier about making electronic guns that use like motors, this is going to have them. So it's going to be slow. It's manually pumped right now, right? Like so, it's going to be slow. It'll be like Pepe Le Pew of shotgun, just chunka chunka chunka. But I'll just keep on going, man. Like the Energizer Bunny of 12 gauge.
this
Dude,
is
awesome.
yeah, because I mean, the only thing I could think about, like, what's the challenge? Why not just go with like a typical stick, or like round, like or stick mag or stuff like that? Would be, I guess the links could break. I'm not sure really.
It's I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like the best design in the world, but like it is a pretty easy way to get a multi-shot, like repeatable,
Yeah,
12 gauge that like I fired 7 rounds, if I'm counting right. I fired 6 of them successfully. I fired a 7-round belt through it. But like, I could have put the longer one in there. All those are is just nails, right? You just pop a nail in, some links, and like off you go. Now you have 300 rounds or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, because like this, I mean, for me, I think the most important part of it is that it's simple and anyone can do it. And how is this better? This is already clearly better than like a typical slam fire like zip gun that people would make, in that you can have a follow up shot.
Oh yeah, and it works. It works pretty well. Like so I'm at the prototype stage, right? Like I literally just fired it earlier this week. But like I've had these pieces around, and like I've done some iteration on it, and there's like a box full of iterations, and now it's at this point where it does work. Like there's pieces on it that are rough and all that jazz, but like if I had to take this as it is or the break action, like I got one good shot out of this for sure, and then potentially like a whole bunch more. So I'll take this one.
Right.
No, yeah, I mean, I think this is a very cool design in that it's simple and yeah, I think this is. If I don't have to like weld things, this automatically just makes it.
Nope.
This is our the gun is or it doesn't matter that I guess the clock or the actual revolver is a better gun if I can't make it myself. The best gun you have
Right.
is the one that you actually own.
I wouldn't even
wouldn't
call the
say-
revolver better.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the revolver's better. So the revolver here's like the couple of things, right? So the revolver had the gap gas problem. That in a revolver that is always going to be a problem. So it's like, okay, what if you didn't have that gap gas at all? And this, like, there's no gap, right? Because you're actually
Exactly.
chambering around in the barrel itself, and there's no separation there at all.
That
And it just takes that problem, just totally throws it out the window.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Though this is, I like this, and this seems actually pretty simple to do. So then I guess what would be, what's the like? What would you or what would you really need to do then for this?
That needs to get like polished up before it's ready.
Right.
There's
If you're
a couple
comfortable
things,
saying
like-
that, if you don't need to, because it's I guess
No,
it's,
it's fine. I mean, most of my dev stuff is out there. Like, this is just okay. So this gun pretty much came together in like less than a month. So like the idea had been there, kind of out floating around for a while, but like the actual like okay, when I like buckled down and started designing it, like maybe a month worth of design work. And that's been at the same time I'm trying to do like the Cafe 12 release docs and all that stuff, because like Cafe 12 is the lead-in for this, right? Like it's the same receiver, it's the same Minuteman receiver, it's just a different forend. And so like the break action, like anyone can make that. Anyone can make this one too, I think. I would not have people make it with pipe. Because in this case, it's one tube, it slides over there, it's not doubled up at all. Pipe is sketchy on a good day. Like I don't like that shit.
Right.
But like in 4130, yeah, no problem.
yeah. This is. I'm really interested to see where this goes. I hope you post more videos about this, or at least I mean I want to see this.
Yeah, this is coming up soon. Like, this is the first public release of it. Like, a couple people know about it, and have had input or whatever. But like, this is the first that like, okay, yeah, this is a thing, people.
I like it a lot.
Can't wait to see it at the next Makers match. You can run the course and miss everything way faster this time around.
I know, right? And hey, like if my extractors are all working, I want to like fiddle around with a screwdriver or anything. That I'll say that this thing is, if you jam it up, you're really shit out of luck.
I was about to say, because it seems like it's going to be you're going to have to take out the whole contraption that you got set up there.
Yeah, you have to like bolt on an extra pistol on the side just in case.
Yeah.
Like you'll have one good shot, but after that, like don't cycle it right now. Don't cycle it too fast, or it'll like you kind of outrun it, and you catch one of the pedals in the barrel instead, and so like things like that. If you run it kind of slow, it works just fine. I had the one round there that didn't want to fire, and I think like I gave it a couple whacks, and I think I just killed the primer. And like, okay, next round.
What if you had made the all right, hear me out. Switching to box mags, right?
Mhm.
And you make the pedals, so you'd lose the hinges on each of your pedal things there, and you'd be able to switch over to 4 pedals for each one and make the outside a circle. And as the barrel goes all the way forward, when it hits the farthest forward portion, you have a lever type ejector to slap the round out of the extraction spot.
I've thought about something along those lines. Like, how would I? So, right, you build the one, and you're like, okay, cool, this is great. Now I have to deal with the belt thing. The box is probably coming. Like the reverse pump, I think has a lot of mileage. I really want to play with Boost's P90 mag, the 12 gauge P90 mag. I would love to put that in here. And I think like it just has to be adapted to reverse pump, which like no guns are, right? Like I don't think there's any gun that is. So like it's weird. Huh? What's that?
I said it's what you got though.
Yeah, and like it gives you this like fixed recoil plate, and like having, I don't know, like I think the 12K design, right, the Minuteman receiver, like all that's contained in like this one non-moving thing. and it's it's strong as hell, right? Like anything that happens on the other side of that recoil plate, I am really not afraid of.
Right.
Shy of like, I'm not going to load a 50 cal in there or anything. Like even like that's just too much recoil is the problem. But like it's probably not going to punch a hole through there. So I don't know. Like that's what I like about the basic design of the gun, and like trying to build these reverse pump mechanisms on top of it because I have this solid base to work from. That's what I'm trying to do. And like so like someone mentioned the harmonic doing it. Yeah, Steel Cannibal mentioned doing it harmonica style. I actually have a couple other designs using pedals. So like there is a revolver cylinder one, right? Like just okay, what if you could pack this into a cylinder? How many would it be? It's 5, by the way. And like that's doable. Extraction gets a little trickier that way. Like you have to hold the shell in place. Yeah, he does have a reverse pump gun. He actually really kind of got the idea from Royal Nunsuch. That's originally where I probably like started thinking like, yeah, that might actually work better in some ways.
Where
but,
all good ideas have come from.
Dude, Royal was you know what? He hacked around with shit and like didn't have a lot of preconceptions about what you could and couldn't do. That's what stopped. I mean, you know this, right? Like that's what stops a lot of people like from innovating is they have preconceptions about what can't be done.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
they're so certain something can't be done, so they never even try. Like, yeah, it turns out it's pretty easy.
I'm not shitting on Royal Nunsuch. I like his stuff.
Yeah, no, I've gotten so much from, and like he was on YouTube for a while, but like he got nuked so early on. It's a shame.
Yeah,
he's not on here.
No, yeah,
he is on. I think he has a channel on, but it's nowhere near as active as it was. It's not like all the gun stuff it used to be. Like they really nuked him for like ad revenue and all that jazz.
Yeah, man. A bit of me also has to wonder to a certain extent, because I know for a fact you can't show gun. We'll see. If anything, I'll have this thing private for a little bit, maybe download it or anything. But definitely.
I mean, I have a copy of most of his old stuff. Like, I'm sure he could get it. Actually, he'd probably put it up on Odyssey. With him, put it up on Odyssey, because he wouldn't get it taken down from there at least. And like, I don't know about making any money, but like, he can,
Yeah, I mean, at least for posterity's sake, it would be good for everyone to have that to reach to.
Well, I mean, good thing. Odyssey, like, I don't think we'll take it down.
No. Steel Cannibal mentioned his pipe proofing stuff. Absolutely, like the pipe abuse videos that he did were great. Like I went from like, oh man, this pipe stuff is super sketchy. It's still sketchy, don't get me wrong, but like, oh man, you can abuse the hell out of it. It won't blow up. You can bulge a barrel, right, with like a bunch of crap plugged in the end of it, and it won't blow up. Like, it's sketch, but I mean, the proof's in the pudding, man. It didn't blow up with a fat bore obstruction. Like,
yeah, I mean, when's the last time you saw a firearm failure that was the barrel failing?
Yeah,
it's a very good point. But
well, yeah, like especially with intentional bore obstructions, we've seen people play around with that more lately. But like that's legit. Like you're making bombs at that point, man.
Like, yeah, you're essentially making a giant 12-gauge pipe bomb with this one's particular. If you were to do that,
but monetized, bam.
Yeah,
I was surprised that like.
Tell me to watch what I say.
That pipe is surprisingly strong. Like Royal screwed around with it, and we were playing around with the DIY, pipe choke, and like the round and like all the shot, not all of it probably, but like a lot of the shot got stuck in the barrel and like jammed up in there. Like it was gnarly. I was surprised worse happened, but like get on the other side of that recoil plate and send it.
Well, I feel like if anything, this is a great point to basically end for most of this stuff, just because this is one of the coolest possible things I think I've seen in a while. I like the idea of a belt-fed gun, and then a belt-fed shotgun sounds incredible.
That's insane. DIY belt-fed shotgun.
So,
dude,
made an open SCAD of all things.
Yeah.
Oh no, and like part of the reason it hasn't been out there yet is like I wanted to make it semi-auto. Like it'd be great to that. Like that's the first vision. Chunk, 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 chunk. I don't know. I want to have my belt and just fucking letting the plates have it.
That would be. I really do look forward to seeing footage of this, and then if this does go in alpha, then I will do whatever I can to help join that beta. That sounds awesome. This would be my first shotgun I've ever really owned or actually shot. Now I think about it, I've never really shot a shotgun before.
We'll see about making that happen because really the Evolver, you could basically make this today, every bit as easily as you can make the Cafe 12. It's just not as polished. It's definitely rough. Whereas the Cafe 12 is like polished up and nice. This is like not far away. Like it'll be this probably that you're like, yeah, I can make it. It's called the Evolver, by the way. With capital, the whole Ron Paul capital love in the Evolver. Yeah, you'll probably be able to make one by the end.
Now, I will say one other thing too. Mr. Snow is saying, have I looked at the Cobra 9 footage you sent in the Discord DM? I did. It's not showing up. I can't get it to work on OBS well, but I do think you uploaded that to Twitter as well, and I have that pulled up as well. But this is basically what the Cobra 9 looks like. This is what it looks like when it's shooting. For those curious.
I'm not seeing anything.
It's going to take a little bit longer for that, but this is basically what the bolt looks like. It's actually, I mean, whatever you're saying about a delay or deleted some words that...
Yeah, deleted blowback, they're calling it.
Either way, this looks very, very light, if anything. I'm not sure how much of it's the brake and how much of it's everything else, but that is a very, very cool looking gun. But
you see how long it takes for the bolt to actually cycle back forward as it's shooting?
Yeah.
Does that seem normal to you based on other direct blowback firearms?
Well, let's be honest. I'm not an engineer at all.
Neither am I. I dropped out of college.
Yeah. But
the cyclic rate on that's going to be nice, controllable, we would say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested. I really do want to see what happens when it comes out and everything. But that's one of the other designs that I'm also looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, Cobra 9's got some magic in that butt right there, and that's what slows down the cyclic rate, as far as I can tell. Like, I haven't gotten my hands on one yet, but I mean, just from
fingers crossed on mine too.
Guess.
But Zurad, you have anything fun you're also working on too?
I mean, really just the ECM stuff. If there's any GunCAD type stuff, it's not going to get released under my name. It's going to be someone else that's releasing it. But there's some very cool stuff in the works. Someone who isn't me is, Biruta in the chat is asking, are there feasible solutions for DIY ammo? And the answer is, I believe, yes. Someone is doing some work on a sliding chamber firearm, a more modernized version of the Steyr ACR, and it's supposed to be in 9mm, but it's 9mm CT, case telescope, and it uses 3D printed plastic telescoped cases for a standard 9mm load. So what it would be is the round itself is just a perfect plastic cylinder with the bullet, powder, and primer inside of it. And it's housed in a fully supported chamber, front, back, and all around it, cylindrical chamber. Forward ejecting, magazine fed. And it was initially thought, initially the people developing it were going to go for a gas operated version. But I mean, Jeff, you got me thinking about this, dude. Something electronically actuated. I've got a buttload of those car door actuators.
Yep.
Might be able to do that for the actual length of action that's needed.
I really just for a lot of stuff. I like the idea of just using one of these lead screws straight off of I mean, maybe not driven with a stepper motor, but like a geared, DC motor or whatever that had end stop switches and yada yada. This can be really, really easy and low barrier to entry, I think. They're going to be slow though. I did some of the math, travel times and RPMs and all that. And it's going to be a little slower.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting. I think a few people are definitely going to put something like that together. I don't know if it's going to be that difficult to actually get gas actions to work. If anyone can get stainless steel tubing and fill it up with some ice and then hammer it into shape. And once you get, you get a few people who know how to do their math, like Mephistopheles or someone like that, to actually do the math for you. You test
Right.
it out a few times, verify it, and you say, okay, standard loading for this works generally with that, and people will probably just go for the gas operated at that point.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think if we have gas operated arms, you might as well just go with the gas operated.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I guess
I
the
think
last
you
thing
probably
that's
see the electric ones though too.
I think you're going to see both of them. It just depends on what people are comfortable with in the end. And
Yep.
if you have less in the way of machining tools, you're probably going to go for electrically operated.
Hmm.
Um, the other thing that's in the works, some people are, well, I'm just not going to say anything about that one actually. Uh,
You're leaving us blue balled, but I guess,
maybe.
well,
Um, if I
if
can
that,
evangelize for a second, if any of you are going to be doing ECM stuff, please, please, please use citric acid. It makes your reactions way cleaner, and it will immediately neutralize the hexavalent chromium, which you don't want to come in contact with. That's going to give you and your entire family cancer. So use citric acid. Save yourself some trouble.
instead of salt, or
N-
In
uh,
addition to your
in
salt.
addition, okay, is there a certain amount you want to add for that again?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're doing, say your electrolyte is 200 grams per liter sodium chloride, that's a fairly standard mixture. I generally stick with that. Just throw in 20 grams per liter, minimum.
mm,
Um, and you can go for more. Like it's extremely soluble, even in a heavily saturated salt solution.
yeah, it turns all that to iron citrate.
Right.
It makes it look like classic Gatorade, like the bright yellow stuff,
I was
your
gonna say,
clear, bright yellow liquid.
that's a, I, yeah, that's. I'll probably test or look at that. I have to actually make another ECM barrel. I'll probably do a stream on that one of Odyssey of me just doing another ECM barrel in the bathtub
Yeah.
again. But
Yeah,
that I
and
will definitely throw that on there.
if you have any ECM sludge left over, like you didn't get rid of it, try throwing some citric acid in there and mix it
Mm.
up. Let it sit overnight. See what happens to it. It will turn from that black,
You know what?
icky goop,
You
and
gave me
it'll turn
something.
into, just clean green, baby.
I will go find some citric acid, and you know what? That will be something I'll do very soon. But
Hmm.
that so yeah. At least I guess for me then, what I have next is probably some other. I got a bunch of different guns that I need to do and a lot of other things. Time's been very things have been very hard for me with time wise, but hopefully soon I should have some good stuff. I'm really glad that you two joined. This is a very technical thing. If anything, a lot of people that are asking like specific questions about stuff. I get asked a lot of things about different delayed actions and stuff like that. I don't know how to answer. Hopefully you guys answer. You guys did a much better job explaining anything that I could have for actual like actions and stuff, and like at least more of what's actual design stuff. Because I mean,
Hmm.
I'm just. I like to say, if anything, I'm just an idiot beta tester that tried your low or your base standard for what most people should be able to do.
I mean, we need everyone. Like,
Right.
you can't all be designers, right? Like, that's
Yeah,
not going to work very well.
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, you need someone who's able to get streams going and actually has the gumption to do it. Because honestly, I wouldn't want to stream just myself.
Well, I
So
mean, I
thanks for
think
having me. It's been fun. Like I know I just hopped in the middle of this. I do appreciate being able to talk to you guys.
no,
Jeff,
yeah.
Mhm.
good to
For
talk to
sure.
you, man.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed it all. I thank everyone. I do recognize this. I can't believe I've actually made this is a 3-hour stream that I did, which I didn't think we were going to get all the way through, but we're about at the end of that one. So
No, you're gonna. Oh yeah, you start running out of your background stream.
yeah, but either way, this was a lot of fun. I would like to hope to have you guys on again at some other point to see what you guys have, or when you guys have, I guess, more things to show. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing the belt fed
I
shotgun,
was
if
gonna say
anything.
for sure
That's gonna be sick. I'm sure.
we'll have to
Yeah,
get you a belt fed
yeah.
together
We
or something.
we have a lot of other people. If anyone that you guys want to see on a stream or anything, just feel free to ask, and I'll see what I can possibly do. I editing wise, things have been a little bit more complicated. So in the meantime, there's a lot of great developers that really, I guess some people, or at least I have a lot of viewers that are not gun savvy. So it's nice for people to see people like you, Jeff, that just are people people should know you. Like I like think that you're one of the leading like pioneers of most of the stuff here. But
I'm the sleeper. Like the
He
people
really
who know,
is.
know. People who know. Right? I'm
Yeah.
okay with
Yeah.
that.
like, I mean, I think your work is incredible. So yeah, I'm
Appreciate
glad if
that.
anything, I at least want to have as many people like I guess that just don't know anything. At least have better people to ask certain questions. At least learn more from you guys because like if anything, at least just like to hope to show people good things. I guess lead. I
Yeah.
guess help people. I don't know. This has been 3 hours. I'm tired.
Right on, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think what the things that are being done by people like I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Jeff. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for his initial research. And like while what I'm doing is not, specifically geared towards firearms, Jeff has done his part to bring that into existence. I think what's happening with the maker movement as a whole is going to be pretty well influenced by a lot of the failures and experiments done by the GunCAD communities because as just as a general rule, this type of community is the one that's pushing these technologies to their max just because it has to be pushed that far.
Mhm.
So I think, AG, you're doing your good job here documenting this stuff. But always good to have that. Jeff, thank you for doing your work.
For sure.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm gonna head out. I'd love to talk again at some point, but I do have to get up in the morning.
Same. Well, same here. Also, I've been up for like maybe. Oh God, I probably had like 3 or 4 hours of sleep last night. So I'm running on Mountain Dews alone. So I thank everyone for showing up and everything.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for everything. And have a nice night.
For sure.
Yep. See you around. Bye.
Okay. And ended the stream.